Hey, folks. Happy Friday evening. This is called Alto Dolce by Nespresso. Oh, do we have a show lined up for you tonight? We got Paul Laine coming on at 7 o'clock. That's just 20 minutes from now. Until then, I've got some whole bunch of mail here to unbox. This is all cool stuff, I promise. But let's start with a music video, shall we? We usually start with a music video. This is one from my personal VHS collection. This is a band called Feel, and they relate to one of the boxes that I'm about to open tonight. This is I Become You by Feel. That was I Become You by Feel, great Toronto band. That was from their 1994 album, A Taste of Feel. Great album. And right here is a box that I've anxiously been awaiting. This came from Drew Masters from Meat Magazine. Remember Meat Magazine? This comes from Drew's personal collection. I purchased this off of him, and they arrived in the mail this week. And it is actually related to the music video that we just saw. Hey, there's T-Bone. How you doing, buddy? Hello, LeBrain Drain. Hello, T-Bone. So this is actually related to the music video that we just saw by Feel. Oh shit, he really packed this good. We got the popcorn in there. Gonna have to dump that out on the floor. He really packed this good. Okay, bunch of popcorn on the floor. 2 cassettes. This is actually Feel before they were Feel. These are incredibly rare cassettes. Russian Blue, Off to Dead Moon, which is the same band. Oh, wow. Yeah, 4 songs on side 1. Once a Madman, Had Enough, Miss Precocious, and Lickin' Dog. And on side 2, we have Mama's Love, Black, Child of the Ocean, and Bleed. That is basically their first 2 demos, I believe. But then there's another cassette here. Russian Blue, Cherry Beach Sound. It's a demo, I guess. Russian Blue, Bled Me Dry, Child of the Ocean, Mama's Love, Black. This is really cool. I don't know if they're different versions or what have you, but collector's items that I will love for the rest of my life. That is for sure. Oh, wow. You know, handwritten songs. That is cool. I cannot wait to give those a play. Here's show you the spines as well. And on the back. So that's parcel number 1. That's pretty cool. Let's open parcel number 2. Now, this came all the way from New York. From, he's a Facebook buddy of mine, Mr. Ralph Vitale. I hope I pronounced that right, Ralph. Ralph is a super cool guy. He's got his own show, The Rock Shop with Ralph. And this week, he's actually a few weeks ago, wasn't that long ago, he just talked to Phil Narrow, who just passed away from cancer this week. But he had Phil on his show not that long ago. The Rock Shop with Ralph. I cannot wait. I will wear this on my next live stream. Thanks, Ralph. That is cool. That is awesome. Can't wait to wear that. And finally, from Encore Records in Kitchener, Ontario. They taped this one up good. Man, Drew Masters really made sure that those Russian Blue cassettes arrived safe and sound, didn't he? From Encore Records, some vinyl. And a CD. Huh, I ordered a CD too. See, I like to order things kind of impulsively, and then when they arrive, it's always a surprise. Okay. I think that's everything. I'll show these off one at a time. Oh, wait, no, there's another CD. There we go. Okay. Showing these off one at a time. I'll start with the CDs. We have Garth Hudson's Celebration of the Band, Volumes 1 and 2. I'm especially interested in the Blue Rodeo appearances. I believe Blue Rodeo are on both of these, but there's all kinds of people. Bruce Coburn, Neil Young, the Sadies, Cowboy Junkies, Great Big Sea, Blue Rodeo, Mary Margaret O'Hara, Ian Thornley, The Trues, Chantal Kreviazuk, Rain Maida, Susie McNeil, Kevin Hearn and Thinbuckle, Hawksley Workman, The Roadhammers, Peter Katz and the Curious, Danny Brooks, and the Rockin' Revelators with Garth Hudson, and more and more. So I got them both. That'll make for some cool listening. On vinyl, we have a Record Store Day exclusive. Jethro Tull, Ring Out Solstice Bells, A Christmas Song, another Christmas song, Magic Bells, Ring Out Solstice Bells, which it says there's a previously unreleased song and there's some Steven Wilson remixes. I'm not 110% sure if these tracks are available on albums. I didn't really research it that much. I just thought it was kind of cool. And, there's 2 tracks on here that I don't have no matter what. So that's pretty cool. Or at least 1 track I don't have here, I should say. And then here, another, a limited edition, not necessarily a Record Store Day, but it's a limited edition. Star Wars Rebels. This is the Rebels theme, but it's a remix. So I have no idea what that's going to be. And then on the other side is the Rebels theme. I didn't do a lot of research. I didn't check to see if there is an album that these are available on, a physical album or not. I just kind of wanted to have it. I mean, I like Star Wars, right? So there you go. It's a picture disc, obviously. And lastly, again, didn't do a lot of research. Bon Jovi Live 2. I was asking Jon Snow about this, who will be with us very, very shortly, by the way. I was asking Jon Snow about this, and he didn't really know what this was either, but it has 4 rare live tracks from the New Jersey tour. Now, when they say rare, I don't know what that means. Is it something I have already? I don't know. I'll Be There For You, 1989, Lakeland, Florida. Lay Your Hands on Me, Giant Stadium. Bad Medicine, Wembley, 1988, and Runaway, 1988. We'll have to listen to this to see if I recognize any of these versions, but whatever, I've got it. It's mine now, so that's cool. I think so. Anyway, where's the LeBrain t-shirts? That's a great question. I really want to get moving on that. And just keep your word, Mike. It's okay. I'm keeping your green room guest company. Take your time. And yes, Jon Snow, if you want to join, you come right on aboard, man. We got to talk about our special guest tonight, Mr. Paul Laine, who will be joining us in just a few minutes, actually. But we got to get Jon Snow on first, because this is Jon Snow's Jon Snow's show tonight, folks. So as soon as John joins us, we'll get all set here for our special guest. So once again, the drink sponsor tonight in the caffeinated category is Alto Dolce by Nespresso. And in the sugary sweet category, it's Canada Dry. And here is John. So I'm going to run the LeBrain Train theme song, and then we will be on momentarily with Mr. Jon T. Snow.
Ticket to anywhere. donuts. To go. All aboard.
Well, howdy, John.
How's it going?
I'm good. How about you?
Not too bad. I'm all excited, ready to go.
Did you see that Bon Jovi single?
I did. I still don't recognize it.
Well, I guess I'll let you know when I give it a spin.
Yeah, I guess rare could mean anything. It's only on 10 things or 100 things. It's hard to say.
Well, yeah, right. Like, I know I have other live versions of Runaway, and I don't know if they're from this concert or not, but I guess I will hopefully recognize the specific version if I've heard it before.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But I know you're excited tonight for our special guest, Paul Laine.
I am. I've been following him since 1990. So
Since the start, then.
that's the start, yeah, for his first album. So yeah, I'm real excited. I was working at a record store. Yep. I was working at a record store. They sent a box of promos in, and in the box of promos was this, not actually this CD, but that version. And I walked home with it, and I fought for it because I wasn't high on the tier. So it's like I got whatever was left over, but I fought for that one and got it. And so it's a great album.
It is a great album. Of course, my story is completely different from yours because I only got it this year.
Yeah.
But it's turned into I will have to confess this to Paul that I am a new fan, but it's such a great album. Like, I've played it so much since I got it about a month ago. And I played it 3, 4, 5, 6 times this week. I'm not sure exactly how many times, in the car, at work, and at home. And I love it in each setting.
Yeah, each time I'll put it away for a little while. When I come back to it, there's a different song I like more. So
I found that as well.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I told you I had a favorite song earlier in the week, and it's since changed at least twice since then. So I'm very excited to talk to Paul. I guess the only other question I have for you is, how did you approach him?
I went on Facebook and saw he actually had Messenger. So I typed up an email or whatever put the Mike Frazier link and the Martin Popoff link to show that, we're a legit show.
Yeah.
And he responded back like that.
Oh, that's
He's
cool.
like, sure, let's do it. I mean, it was that quick. And he sent me a lot of information, and we've been in touch for about I don't know, what has it been, about a month?
Yeah, about
maybe 6 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't
nice
need any
guy.
information because you have everything basically at this point.
I have everything that he's the main singer on. I don't have everything that he's like backgrounds or written songs for.
Right.
But yeah, all his main albums. I think I have 12, something like that. So
that's decent.
Yeah.
I have these two, which I'm loving them both.
Yeah, and you've got to get the first Defiance.
I got to get the first Defiance because this one is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. We'll be talking about all this great music tonight. I'm really glad that you got me into this. What a voice.
I am too. I'm always afraid when it's something that really I only knew and you guys, not all you guys knew about it, but Deke knew about him.
Yeah.
But, you always hope that my opinion was right.
Well, Deke used to even named his website originally at one point. It was called Stick It in Your Ear.
It was. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I never made the connection. That's how.
Well, that is the debut album that has been kicking my butt all week, really.
Yeah.
And as you can see.
Yeah. And I found out, which I'll ask him about it, but I found out he played lead guitar on most of it.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So that's
cool.
Pretty incredible.
Deke knows everyone. All right. Well, I believe we are just about ready to go. So shall we introduce our special guest tonight? This is Mr. Paul Laine.
The Brain Train is proud to present Paul Laine.
Hello.
Just rocking out to that music. Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you fellas doing?
Not too bad. It's
Good.
Friday night where we are.
Yeah, where are you guys broadcasting from, by the way?
I'm in Kitchener, Ontario.
Okay,
And I'm in Waxhaw, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte.
sure. I've been by there.
Not. I haven't seen you, so
No.
I'm so
I showed
disappointed
up with flowers and fresh bagels, but you
I
didn't
know.
answer.
No, I'm just disappointed. I've never seen you live, and it breaks my heart that I haven't done that yet. So I can't wait for things to open back up, and I will travel to the nearest city next time you're out on the road.
Well, hopefully we'll be back in America next year. You know, fingers crossed. Hopefully I think things are opening up. Well, Mike can attest to, you know, how nuts things are going in Canada right now.
Yeah, especially in Ontario.
I know. I've just been following what's been happening on the news with you guys, and man, it's crazy.
Is.
It hit you guys really hard, hey?
Yeah. We were doing really well, up until about September last year.
Right.
But we've been in second and third waves ever since.
Yes. Yeah. How about you, John? By you, is it?
No, it's
Okay.
not too bad. I mean, there's still a lot of cases, but things are opening back up. Restaurants are almost back to full capacity. If we can get to 2/3 shots, then the masks will go away. But yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's kind of business as usual
Sure.
now. But you still can't do like concerts and full concerts. Everything still has to be spaced out. So, but they started booking shows
All right.
out
Yeah.
late summer, early fall. So
All my Europe stuff was canceled this summer, so I was like, oh, I just kind of wondered, you know, kind of what's happening around the globe. It's nice you guys will be able to get back to having some shows down south at least.
yeah,
I don't know if
Kip
you've
Winger's
noticed.
Kip Winger's going to be up north of Charlotte at some club, and I'm like tempted. It's like an hour and a half drive from here, but I'm tempted to go see it because I've had my
Sure.
shot, so I'm ready to go.
All right.
I don't know if you've seen, Paul, but Genesis just announced a Toronto date in November. And I have to wonder if that's actually going to happen or not. It's so far
Right.
off. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, I know. Well, with all the, you know, sort of like, can we even travel? I mean, right now where I am, they've even got, you know, I live on Vancouver Island and they're shutting down towns. It's like, if I leave my town, there's a giant sign that says "Don't travel," you know, and you know, stay in your own town. So, you know, which I'm doing.
Yeah. We're all just trying to survive at this point.
Right.
But this started as just kind of a thing to do on Friday nights because nobody was going anywhere. So that's why you're here tonight, basically.
How this all started because, you know, you guys like to talk about music and you were bored.
100%.
That's
And
exactly it.
it's been a blast. It's been therapeutic, and we've had a chance to meet some really cool people, such as yourself. And I'm supposed to tell you hello from Mike Fraser, who we had on a few weeks ago.
Lovely. Yeah, I like Mike's such a great guy. And
Yeah.
I always got to hand it to Mike. He's stuck around in Vancouver and kept the scene going because, you know, he's probably, I don't know if you've talked to him about that, but at one time, you know, Vancouver was the place.
Yeah.
You know, with Little Mountain Studios and Bob Rock and him and Fairburn, and just it was like a studio industry town. You know, rock and roll came there, and then, you know, sadly Fairburn passed away, and Bob Rock left for Hawaii, which, hey, we're Canadian, we understand.
I would.
I would leave if I could.
Right. But Mike stuck it out, and you know, he is like he's kept rock and roll alive in Vancouver for sure.
We've had him on twice now, and he's been just such a super, super guy. So many stories. But we're here tonight to talk about you and your career.
All right, let's go.
And John, why don't you hit it up, because he had a good segue there talking about Little Mountain.
Yeah, Little Mountain. I did want to talk about that, but because I know when you got in with Bruce, you did a lot of work with him after he worked on your album, and we'll definitely get to that album because I love Stick It in Your Ear.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned Little Mountain Studios, I thought we'd go there. How long did you kind of work in that group with them and doing background vocals and things like that?
Yeah, so I started, let's see, I started doing pre-production on Stick It when Aerosmith was recording Pump. So that would be 89, I think.
Yeah,
89?
that'd be 89. Yeah.
Yes, 89. So I started working in there. Well, actually not working in there, just showing up to, actually watch part of that album being recorded because I was next on deck. And that was a mind blower. And then in earnest, I was, so we recorded Stick It in the fall of 89. So I started right after that. I think the next record I worked on was the Flesh and Blood album, which Mike Fraser was the engineer on, the Poison record. And then after that, I think it was the Scorpions' Face the Heat record. Besides other things that were happening at the studio at that time, I kind of was, became the background vocal guy running around from studio to studio, thanks to the Stick It record and thanks to the Poison album. People were like, oh, this guy can arrange and sing background vocals pretty well. So, but I definitely owe that all to Bruce Fairburn because he, when you have a guy like him vouch for you in that time period, it really opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah, Bruce was, from what I've read, when he found people he liked, he used them a lot.
Yeah,
so
very loyal and just had his group of guys and then just used them on every record that he could. Unfortunately I couldn't be. I was supposed to do that AC/DC record. What was it? The Razor's Edge. But I was on tour with Joe Satriani. So that's a weird bill. Yeah, I was doing the Flying in the Blue Dream tour with Joe. So I ended up not being able to sing on that record, which breaks my heart.
I'd heard something about it in one interview, so I had pulled all these albums out that I thought you had done background. And I wanted to ask, because I saw the Scorpions that you had done that one, and I saw the Flesh and Blood, but I had heard somewhere about AC/DC, but I couldn't find anything that said it. So I wanted to ask.
So
you didn't get to do that.
I did not get. I was booked to do it, and then I was on to. Well, actually, bigger story than that. I was booked to do that album, and I was also at the same time booked to do the Canadian leg of Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood tour.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Wow. And then last minute, for some unknown reason, I lost that tour. So then I was like, I'll be doing the AC/DC record. And then Bruce Allen put me on the Joe Satriani tour. So that I could not work on that album. So part of me wishes that I didn't do that tour and I got to, that record to me is such an awesome record. It would have been amazing to be part of.
But opening for Satriani, I could think of worse things to do.
Oh yeah, no, that was that. I guess I sound arrogant, don't I? I don't mean it that way.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah. No, just like those things that happen in life where you go, if I went down this road, this could have happened, and if I went down that road, that could have happened. But the thing is that albums are forever and tours are just So I work in a studio full time, so I like the idea of making history.
Right.
I agree with that.
Musically,
Yeah.
What was Bruce like?
Bruce is the most down to earth guy. You would never equate him with the music business per se. Like Bruce was a guy that was always on time. He was very kind of almost German in his scheduling, like you will start at the studio at 9:30 in the morning. We will take a break at this time. He used to always leave at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and he would go coach his son's soccer games, right? Go have dinner with his family. Then you start back at 6 o'clock at night and work until, 10. And if you wanted to work further, he'd be gone and you'd be, with an engineer or assistant and continue to work. But so he was very scheduled, very anti-drug, total, just like soccer dad that made brilliant rock records.
Yeah, that he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been exactly what Aerosmith needed at that exact time, I think.
That was the deal, I remember those days, and part of the reason that record companies, besides the fact that Fairbairn was brilliant and had a monster ears, is that he had a zero tolerance, for drugs. And he had enough hits behind him and enough proof that he could say, my way or the highway, and bands were better for it. So, Aerosmith did amazing work with him. And Bruce, being a horn player, he's a great trumpet player, right? You guys probably already know.
Yeah.
So bringing all the horns and stuff in, the Margarita horns, as they called it. Bruce lived on Marguerite Street. So hence, when you see Margarita horns, that's why. There you go. Okay. Right? So you notice if you look on the albums that he's a part of, it'll say, Margarita horns. It's because that's the street that his house was on. And then he used all these Vancouver guys, Tom Keenlyside and Campbell Reed, just a bunch of, horn session players that were on all those albums from Prism. Do you guys know, of course, Prism, Mike, right?
He's from Canada, yeah.
Yeah, Canada, eh? That's where I came, with Bruce Fairbairn, when I was a little kid, my first, love affair band was Prism. And when I was 10 years old, I would, like we all did, I'd read the album covers. I knew what Little Mountain Sound was from Prism albums. I knew who Bruce Fairbairn was. And in my 10-year-old heart, I promised myself one day, if I ever got a record deal, that's where I would record, and that's the producer. And funnily enough, when I did get a record contract, I was lucky enough to have 3 deals on the table at the same time. And one of the companies was offering me Bruce Fairbairn because they knew this about me. And I actually took a lesser record deal so that I could work, so I could achieve that that goal as I made as a kid. Yeah. So, I say, kids, careful what you wish for.
That's incredible.
I look back on it now and I go, wow, that it means a lot more to me now even than it did then, and the fact that Bruce is gone even makes it more like that was my only chance, Yeah.
As a kid growing up in Canada, Little Mountain was legendary. You'd hear about it on Much Music all the time. And I used to fantasize about, I'm reading in the magazines that Aerosmith are recording in Vancouver right now. Damn, I wish I could be there. And I remember a friend of my sister had a friend who went to Vancouver for a summer vacation that year. And apparently, the story goes, standing on a street corner and a limousine's driving by, a window rolls down. Steven Tyler leans out the window and just goes like this. The window rolls up and the limousine drives off again. And I believe that. And I absolutely believe that.
There was an amazing scene there, man. It was magical. It was so magical. Kids were lined up every day outside the studio. I could never figure out, this is pre-internet days. Yeah. This is like kids reading the back of albums or CD cover or whatever, and knowing that these bands, and reading rock magazines, this is where the bands are recording. And so literally every day you would go to work at Little Mountain and there'd be a lineup of kids outside. And I'm talking, if you went in at 8 a.m, just kids lined up, they lived for rock and roll. That would never happen now. Yeah. Never.
No.
So
not unless it was, I don't know, Taylor Swift or something.
Right.
One in a million, though. One in a million.
1 in a million, yeah. Not a scene where everyone's showing up. That's the cool thing about Little Mountain, is that everybody who was quintessentially happening in that era was trying to record with Fraser, Bob Rock, or Fairbairn, and that was really cool. And I look back on my life and I'm just like, man, I'm so glad I got to be just a tiny part of that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, see, nowadays, with the internet and everything, there's just no secrets anymore. There's
there's also no mystery.
Mystery, yeah. And there's no real rock stars anymore. It's just, back then, you only saw them in the magazine or on MTV or Much Music with you guys. So that was the only exposure you had to them. So it was definitely something you would want to go to see. Now, you just pick up the phone and Instagram and everything, and they're right there. So it's like you don't need to as much.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. I find the stars from, I don't know if it's old guy talking here. It probably is old guy talking. So kids, if you're watching, just tune out. It just was more interesting, like rock stars were more interesting. The mystery behind it was more interesting. Now everybody's available at all times. People must behave. Yeah, some of that's for the better.
Yeah.
And some of that is not for the better, because I think that people are afraid to be themselves. I'm not talking about anything untoward here. I'm just saying, there was a lack of fucks given back in the day, and I miss the lack of fucks. Really, a certain part of it, I miss it. Where you could just kind of be wild and crazy, and have fun on the road, and have a lifestyle that you dreamed about as a kid, rocking out in your garage. That was achievable. Now everybody has a cell phone, and people are worried.
Yes.
I'd like to show you something from my own personal collection here. I don't know if you remember this one, but there's you. There's an interview with you, and there's another album you were on right there as well. But you had a full-page interview here with Harris Rosen from Meat Magazine. Meat Magazine, and just trying to find the page here. There was something in here that I thought was.
Oh no!
I'm just kind of curious. Like Harris says that you were at the time known as Canada's. Here we go. Canada's Bon Jovi, and I'm just kind of curious. Like. Did that tag bug you? Later on in the interview, he says that you're Canada, the hard rock answer to Jordan Knight, and I thought, well, that's kind of.
I don't even know who Jordan Knight is. I'm sorry.
New kids on the block.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. Does he say that? I mean,
he actually says the hard rock Jordan Knight. But I was kind of wondering, like, I guess there must have been a lot of Bon Jovi comparisons back then. Did that kind of bother you, or?
I mean, you look a little bit back in the day because I was young. I got signed very young.
Yeah. And
and when you're young, you kind of have those ego temper tantrums. I'm my own man. But really, really, we build on the backs of others in the music business. Like, meaning that I grew up with influences that you can hear, and mine weren't. I grew up loving Thin Lizzy, and I grew up loving Bruce Springsteen in the same way that John did. And obviously, Slippery When Wet was a huge record, and Bruce Fairbairn produced it. But I always sounded exactly like I sounded. And yes, do I sound somewhat like John? Yeah, I got that whole East Coast thing going on, and it's not for... trying to copy. But back then I sort of took offense because I was like, do people not hear the influences of Springsteen, and do they not hear but growing up in the career, you kind of realize, like, what else are they going to say? Hey, you made a record with Bruce Fairbairn with the same producer at the same studio, right? and you have a lot of the same influences. So I mean, I always, yeah. So I go, and I always look at John Bon Jovi going, his influence is clearly Springsteen. And, the whole Springsteen vibe is, taken from, Van Morrison sings in that cadence, right?
Yeah.
And Phil Lynott rips off Van Morrison, that whole way of staggered singing, is if you ever want a rock and roll education, listen to Blinded by the Light, and then listen to The Boys Are Back in Town, and you'll understand that whole style of singing is exactly the same, and that's Van Morrison, right?
If I may be so bold, I hear just a hint of like progressive, especially in the keyboard arrangements. You know,
Sure.
I guess it is different. It is its own thing. Like I do hear a little bit of like some Marillion, maybe even. You know, I heard some.
Well, I was a giant Rush nerd, so Subdivisions was a big record for me. I was a huge Rush fan. In fact, my very first band was a Rush tribute band, and
Wow.
and I played bass, right? So I was Getty. I had this band called Holograph, and that's what we did, man. That's like
Holograph.
my with an F, so you know it's cool. So yeah, I because of Rush. Well, actually, because of Exit Stage Left was the first Rush album I owned, and that like I lost my mind over that. That's what I wanted to do when I was young. After I got over my Prism infatuation, Rush was next. And then so when you listen to Stick It, it's basically all the keyboard inspiration comes from John Hall, right? Who was the keyboard player from Prism, and then anything that Getty did. So that and then put that in a pop metal format, and I guess that's what you get. You know, songs like like that weird breakdown in the middle of We Are the Young, you know. That's totally kind of like a Rush, right?
Yeah.
But no one would draw that connection.
Well, I did.
Yes, you did. Good Canadian guy.
I just had a comment here from Ryan. He says that he hears Foreign and Loverboy a little bit. So that's some pretty good names. Yeah,
definitely Mike, Reno, and Lou Graham, huge influences as well. Yeah, I left home listening to Foreigner 4 when I left home. Yeah, listening to I'm Gonna Win.
And you did.
And I did, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Loverboy, I was reading in the notes of the liner notes of this, Stick It in Your Ear. And you mentioned Paul Dean and Mike Reno as a thanked them.
I noticed that.
So did they?
Yeah.
Was that just because of the influence, or were they on?
Not just the influence. When I signed my record deal, I got a call from Mike Reno, and because I was being managed by Bruce Allen, who is Loverboy's manager, and also Bruce Fairbairn's manager. They knew how much I loved those guys. And so someone made a call. Mike Reno called me up on, I will not forget this day. It was May 12th, 1989. And Bon Jovi had played with Skid Row and Cinderella the night before at BC Place Stadium. This all ties in, okay? And I had signed my record deal, and Skid Row was doing a show at a club in Vancouver the next night called 86th Street, which is like 1,500 seat club in Vancouver. I don't know what the comparison would be in Toronto, like Rock and Roll Heaven or something. I don't know.
Sure.
And that night, all the guys from Aerosmith were there. Billy Duffy was there. Skid Row was playing, and all the guys from Bon Jovi. It was their day off. And so Mike Reno calls me up and he's like, "Hey kid, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. I want to take you out." So he picked me up and he took me out to the show and introduced me to everybody, the guys from Aerosmith. That was like, I literally went from a kid in a small town, you know, and to like being injected into like all these huge rock stars immediately.
Wow.
And it was really sad because I'm going, this is the coolest thing in the world. I'm now backstage at the show meeting everybody, and Doc McGee comes along and he goes, "Who the fuck are you?" And I am so shy at this point and still a kid, remember? And I'm like, and Mike had fucked off and was, talking to the guys, and I was just I had just met everybody, and then I was like, I guess I just stand in the hallway now because I'm not cool enough to go in that room and hang out with everybody. And so Doc McGee kicked me out. He literally grabbed me, all 5'3" of him, and escorted me out the back door. So I'm now standing in the parking lot the night I signed my record deal, and I'm going. I just wanted to cry, and then Mike opens up the door. "Hey man, get in here!" And
oh my god,
so that was my introduction into, and I'll never forget it. And then Mike and I did a bunch of writing, and Paul Dean and I did some writing, and I had some good times with those guys.
That's cool.
We're trying to picture Doc McGee's voice, going, "Hey, get the fuck out of here."
And we all knew who he was, right? It wasn't like, he was almost as famous as the bands that he produced.
Right,
so
exactly.
I saw him coming down the hallways like, holy fuck, there's Doc McGee. And now he's kicking me out.
You win some, you lose some on the same day.
All right. Stick it in your one of my favorite songs is the Blues Doing Time. That song is so good.
Thank you.
How much blues influence do you have?
Well, only from kind of old 70s rock. Back then, that was really the influence that I had, was just like more Southern rock. The reason that happened, of course, later on, I got more into it. I was too young to appreciate the blues in the way that I would now. I mean, of course, a lot of people would say that. So the reason that happened was Fairburn took me aside one day and he's like, "I hear a lot of blues influence in your singing." And he's like, "I have this idea of doing a blues track on your record." And I'm like, "You do?" I didn't hear it, right? So he said, "Here's what we're going to do." He goes, "You're not going to, you have no time to go write this. We're just going to go in the studio today." I had Mickey Curie for 3 days to record. This is during the recording of the album. So this was on the third day of tracking bed tracks. So, we did the bass and the drum tracks in 3 days on that record. So this is day 3. He calls me in the morning. He says, "So you're going to go out there and you're going to write something just off the floor." And he said, I want to go to Chicago and then do overdubs with James Cotton."
Right.
And I'm like, "What? Are you high?" So he's like, "You got 2 hours," and that's it. I walked out to the studio and I sat there with the guitar, going, what am I going to do? And I just started writing that riff.
Wow.
And
2 hours. That's awesome.
Yes, I had 2 hours to write that song. So I did that in 2 hours. And of course, we had Mickey Curie playing drums, who's amazing. And
did he do all of them? All the drums on the album?
Yeah, he played on everything except we cut a couple tracks a little bit later. And we did at that time. Pat Stewart came and played, I think, on one track.
Okay. Yeah, because
he's Brian Adams' drummer.
Yeah, Pat's pictured in the album, and so I thought originally, all these years, I thought Pat did the drums, and then not too long ago, I found out it was Mickey. So
yeah. So because Pat he's from my hometown, by the way, so he was like local legend. But at the time, he was playing with Jimmy Barnes in Australia.
Okay.
And so when he left Bryan Adams, that was the next job that he got. And when I was making the record, I was friends with his wife or girlfriend at the time. And she wanted to get him home from Australia. So we concocted this plan to get Pat to come home, and I also wanted him as a touring drummer. I had kind of another one of those weird promises that I had made to myself. Pat showed up. Pat showed up when I was playing in a club band when I was 15, and Reckless was huge. The Bryan Adams record was massive. Yeah, I don't have to tell you, Mike.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm wearing. You
Even
can't see it,
for
but I'm
John.
wearing a Bryan Adams shirt.
There you go. Right. So Bryan Adams was like God in this country.
He was.
Anyways, so and Pat showed up when they played Vancouver, the big Vancouver show of that tour, and the next day he was hanging out his buddies, and he was friends with my sound man, and so he came over and showed up, and I'm like, oh my God, Pat Stewart's in the audience. So that's when I first met Pat, and I was 15, and I was like, one day I'm gonna hire him. My introduction to Pat was I was playing at a club in Courtney. I was 15 and underage, and I was wearing leopard print spandex, and Pat was drunk, walked on stage, and tore my pants apart. And I was so embarrassed and starstruck at the same time.
Hey, at least there was no YouTube.
No, I know. This is what I'm talking about. Going back to my earlier.
Right.
Yeah. Did you ever get him back?
Did I ever get him back? Yes, with lots of lousy shows he had to play with me.
Oh, man.
We once played a show in Cleveland. The record went #1 in Cleveland, so they flew us out to do a show and talk about getting Pat Stewart back. We're in the middle of, we're playing a racetrack, right? It's like an all-day outdoor rock festival, and we were like second to last act, and so we go out to play our, we played like a 45-minute set, and the second to last song was Doriana. There's all these Hells Angels there who just started this fight in the middle of this. So we're playing the end of Doriana. It comes, and then all of a sudden these huge security guys just come running on stage. We like barely dropped our guitars and ran us into a van. Like, we got to get you guys the hell out of here. And so we're all in the van, and I'm absolutely pissed off, and I'm sitting in the front, and Pat Stewart is in the very back of the van killing himself laughing. Because number one, it was sort of funny after the fact, and number two, I think he probably thought this is the lowest point in my career. Let's see, I went from Bryan Adams playing Wembley, and now I'm with this jackass. Biker fight. All right, I'll shut up now. Boy, I got on a tangent there. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay.
That's great.
That's the whole point, I think. My mother just tuned in, and she's saying, "What wonderful stories!" So apparently, she likes these Hell's Angels kind of biker stories. I'm learning new things about my mother tonight. So,
oh, Bonnie.
Actually, if you don't mind, in this interview here, you talk about the James Cotton track, and you say that you were hoping for the second album you could do a jam with your band jamming with his band, and I guess that's still one of those things that would be a unfulfilled dream, but
yeah,
that would have been pretty damn cool.
It would have been cool. He came back. I saw him on tour 2 years later, and he had gotten, I went to the show, and I went to see him backstage before the show, and I couldn't understand, and I thought, man, he's gotten really old. He seems really out of it. And there was a chair on stage, and so I went out to the audience, and I was there with some friends. I'm like, man, I'm so bummed out. I think he just finally got really old, like in the last couple of years. And so then I see him walk out on stage, and he's got a suitcase, And I thought, he's going to sit on that chair and play the show. He puts a suitcase on the on the chair, pulls out a harmonica, and then just like kicks ass for 2 hours. Never sat on the chair once.
Wow.
And,
The chair was there to hold the suitcase.
Right. The chair was there to hold the suitcase. And then I realized, all right, music will keep you young no matter how old you are. I'm sure he was in his 70s then, I think. So is James Cotton still alive? Do you know?
Jeez,
He
I
can't
don't know.
be.
I don't know.
I'll Google him while we chat.
All right. The internet, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. No, he passed in 2017.
Okay. So that's recent.
Yeah.
That's funny that Ryan Blood or Ryan Douglas asked a question or put up the comment about Foreigner and Loverboy. There we go. Ryan actually helped sing background vocals on Stick It.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he was there doing gang vocals with us, and he was my roommate for a while. I was like, let's go back to that. Yeah,
that's cool.
So we have 3 people watching the show. We got your mom, we got my old pal Ryan.
Well, we have another fellow here. Ice Cream Father 42 is glad to see you on the show, and he wants to. I'm jumping ahead here, but since we're talking about comments, I may as well put it on the screen. He wants to know what it was like recording Cockroach in Quebec. He says the records with you from Dawn to Return of the Gildersleeves are his favorite records for sure. So that's quite cool.
Cockroach in Quebec. Again, one of those childhood things to knock off the list because
was that Marin Sound?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Yeah.
So the studio, right?
Yeah.
Where Rush. I walked around like the nerdiest kid with a camera, a video.
The big window.
Yeah. And I filmed. I had a bunch of like buddies from home, obviously, who were Rush nerds who I grew up with, and I'm like, and this is where Tom Sawyer was recorded, in the video. And yeah, so that was, and of course, Paul Northfield was the engineer who, of course, worked with Rush as well, right? So got to check another thing off the list, and yeah, I think I just got into this business to meet, my producer heroes. That's what it feels like sometimes. Like the things that I most am nerdiest about are to, the chance that I, to ask questions like, what mic did Geddy Lee use on that or whatever. Yeah. So maybe that's why I work in a studio today, probably.
I was going to say, at least it all applies to your current,
exactly.
Your current job. Sorry, John, I jumped ahead in the chronology a bit there, but I just wanted to put that comment
It's
up.
not too far ahead. It's fine. So in 1993, I saw an interview on MTV's Headbangers Ball with you, all that hair. It was great. And you were talking about your next album, solo album. And of course, nothing materialized for a little while. And then I found a bootleg video on YouTube from the AOR Manchester show in 1993.
From AOR, yeah.
You played a bunch of songs that ended up on Can't Get Enough. And then there was one, where is it? I'm sorry, I'm checking my notes. Did You Get What You Wanted? You played that one. That song, that was a great song. That's not on this one.
No, so that's a group of demos. That album, that was like a record I never wanted to come out, but it came out.
Right.
And it's basically a record label that had wanted my demos and had. So I'll kind of bring you up to speed. At that point in time, I had left Bruce Allen and I had left Elektra Penta. There was a bunch of kind of terrible things going on between my management company and a lawsuit with Little Mountain. Little Mountain Studios had taken over new ownership. And at the time, unbeknownst to me, my record was not paid off in full at the recording studio, and the new owner took over the studio, and and then called my manager at that time, Bruce Allen, on it. And Bruce was kind of like, well, I manage everyone at your studio, so fuck you. I'll pay that bill, because he had gotten the money from Elektra to pay for my album, right? Which is who I was signed to. And so that was a pissing contest with those guys, and I lost my record deal over that fight.
Wow.
Even though I had nothing to do with it. So and at that time I had to leave, because I was very upset that all this kind of skullduggery had happened behind my back. And I went to England to play that show. Okay. And I was trying to figure out, this leads into how I got into Danger and why that record came out. So in the meantime, I had been offered a contract to make a record for that label, and to do a solo album. And I had sent my demos, and then they just ended up releasing the demos before I finished making the record.
Wow.
And so that was very, very upsetting. And there was not a lot I could do about it. And at that same time, Danger fired Ted. And the reason a lot of the songs that I wrote for the next Paul Laine solo record, they're still in a vault. Did You Get What You Wanted was one of the tracks for sure. And this is going way, way back. So in the meantime, Danger had called me and said, we want you to come sing for the band. And so that's why the actual, in my heart, there's never been another solo record by me since Sting.
No. Hopefully that will change someday.
Yeah. You know what? Frontiers offers me a solo deal almost every year. And every year it's the wrong timing because the Defiance thing happened, and then I that was unexpected.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that anyone would give a shit about those records. So
I do.
Those records are
I do.
Yeah, I just wrote. I just wrote it without with Bruno without. We didn't care. We just let's just write the record we want to write. Yeah. So we did the first record, and all of a sudden, people are freaking out over it, and magazines are writing about it, and it was really honest to God, guys, what a thing to happen for me, who's almost 50 at that point, 49 when the first record came out. That doesn't happen. You get a second shot. I thought it was all over for me. So that was a beautiful thing. So yes, maybe one day I'll make a solo record. I'm making Defiance 3 right now. So
yeah.
So,
we know.
Heard you say that.
So when I'm
you?
60.
How far along are you on the Defiance 3?
Right now we're at the stage where we have all the ideas, all the riffs written. So how it works is, with Bruno and I, we have to divide up the work. So in the beginning, when we first started the Defiance, it was, basically Bruno's. I'll write the music, and then you write the hooks. Write the lyrics and the melody and the hooks of the song. So that's how it goes. I get a drum beat and some guitar riffs, and then I'm off to the races. So he's handed in his portion to me as of 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
And now I'm furiously writing the hooks.
Awesome. Okay, so on the first Defiance album, it was you, Bruno Ravel, and Rob Marcello.
Yes.
The second one, you got Steve West to come in from Danger. So on the third one, are we going to get Andy Timmons or maybe a duet with Ted?
Well, no, let me explain how these records are made. First of all, we Bruno and I write them till they're done. The drums we do very last. So the songs, we program all the drums. We write all the drum parts for the song. The first album we got Van Romain to play drums on. who's a drummer from, in Enrique and whatever other acts he's in.
I think I've heard him with Steve Morse. It might be.
Right. That's right. So he's incredible drummer and a good friend of Bruno. So, we finish the albums, then we record the drums over 2 days, and then we mix. So it's bad. You have to understand that we all live, this band could not live further apart. Rob lives in Stockholm, right?
Wow.
Right. And Bruno lives in New York or New Jersey now. And I live on the opposite coast, literally as far away in North America as I could be. So, because of technology, we can make these albums, and we can make them the way that we do. So when we brought, I sort of felt bad in one way. I felt more bad for Steve than anybody else, because when it's like, for the fans, it's like, wow, Steve West came in and did this record with the Defiance. Well, I just came in the last couple of days and played the drum parts that we wrote. Yeah. And now he's got to do interviews. Hey, did you come up with this drum part? That's like, yeah, okay. So next record will probably be a different drummer. This album will probably be a different drummer. I don't know. We'll mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Do you have sort of a feeling for the direction of how the music is going?
Yeah, Bruno and I are probably going to fight a little bit over the summer. I always like to go heavier.
Okay.
Than he likes to go. So on Zakusho, I felt like I was really trying to nudge. Let's throw some heavier modern stuff. I mean, look, I have things that I want to do with my voice. So sometimes if it's all kind of mid-tempo or lower range things, I want to be able to do what I did When the Lights Go Down or Love is the Killer. I need some of those kind of tracks to clear out the pipes, if you will.
I wrote down a question.
Yeah,
I wrote down a question, and it does apply to your voice, but I was not going to ask it, but I'll ask it anyway. Where exactly is the Fountain of Youth, and how did you discover it?
What are you? Hopefully, you're talking about my voice, because this ain't looking so good.
Well, yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of singers, and singing the way you do. I imagine that if you don't take good care of your voice, you're going to lose what you got.
Yeah, look. At the end of the day, the voice is just I'm like a guy who can deadlift 300 pounds, and I mean that vocally, meaning that the voice is just a muscle. So if you keep it in shape, right, it's gonna work for you. I think a lot of guys who lose their voice, they're touring a lot.
Yeah.
If you have a life that, I would say half the reason why I still have the voice that I have, pretty clean living. I've been a vegetarian my entire life, since I was 13. So I eat very cleanly. And then, I'm not on the road all the time. I'm not killing myself. I'm working in the studio singing almost every day. So it's like, I'm like a guy a runner who can still run, if you will. Because I run 5 miles a day still. Vocally.
Well, then to quote Y&T, to quote a band I like, Y&T, keep on running.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm gonna try and hold on to it as long as I can. Hopefully I can.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
You definitely sound stronger, I think, vocally now than even 10, 15 years ago. I mean,
sure. Thank you. I've learned more. I've learned more technique and learned how to kind of grow into my voice, if you will.
Okay. All right. Where were we at? Okay.
I think we left off at the first Danger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first out. Well, it's not really the first, but
right,
because technically it came out last.
10 years later.
Yeah.
Cockroach, for those that don't know, it's a 2-disc set. And before Paul came on board with Danger, Ted Poley had sang the album. Then when he got fired, you came in and sang. As a fan of Danger, something like this is priceless. to get a copy of the same album basically from both singers.
I think it's cool. I think they did the right thing doing that
Yes.
too, by the way.
Yes.
Like it's no, I think Ted deserves that. And I think it's kind of a neat thing for the fans, you know, to have both.
Yeah, because when I'm in a mood for Ted Poley stuff, I just throw on that disc plus all his other stuff. And when I want Paul Laine, I'll throw that in the mix. And
it's a
always
twofer.
great. Because
Ted says that my version makes a great beer coaster.
Oh, come on.
Ted and I get along very well, by the way.
Oh, good. I was just going to say.
I'm sure Blabbermouth's going to take that little bit out and start some sort of war now.
Yeah, whatever. Who wants to see a war between two old men?
You know what? I prefer... Back before everything was, you know, TMZ and Blabbermouth and everything, you didn't know a lot about the drama behind the scenes, and I prefer it that way. Like you mentioned, there's no mystique anymore. There's no mystery anymore, and I agree 100%. As far as I'm concerned, I would like to think that every band in the world is just shoulder to shoulder all the time, and let's just assume that that's the case because we don't know any different, right?
Right.
If you don't mind, I'd like to circle back to something you said earlier.
Sure.
You mentioned it was kind of heartbreaking to have the demos released when it wasn't a complete project. Nowadays, of course, it's very vogue for deluxe editions to come out 10th anniversary, 20th anniversary with a disc full of demos and unfinished ideas. How do you feel about that? Is that something you'd want for your own catalog?
No. No.
Good.
No, you don't want to see me with my shirt off either. And musically, I feel like that's kind of what it is. It's like, well, these are half finished, half baked ideas. And I'd rather, you know, look, I'm a songwriter, so the craft part is really important to me. Hopefully that shows on, you know, the Defiance records and things that I'm involved in that I actually spend time on. So that's kind of, you know, I although I get that that's cool, and maybe if there was something that I knew that I was never going to finish or release and, you know, thought that people should hear it, then awesome, you know, I would do that. But at this point, part of what makes me excited and happy and feeling like I'm doing my best work is to do my best work, you know, take something to completion. And because I feel like you rip people off if you don't. And I don't ever want to be I'm going to say this, like a lot of times, even with acts I see now signed to labels, like acts from back in the day, it saddens me that the last thing that they did is the worst thing that they did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like they're putting out a record, you know that they just took the money, they had somebody else write the album because they just are too jaded or over it or whatever. And to me, that feels wrong from a fan perspective. If I bought a Van Halen record and then I found out someone else wrote it after I bought it, you know, and of course there's not going to be any more Van Halen records, but I'm just saying, using that as an example, I'd be upset about it.
Yeah. I get
So no, boy, I'm long-winded today. Go on, next question.
Well, that's quite all right. We don't mind.
I do like this one though, just to let you know.
That's all
There
right.
are some good tracks on here, even if they're not finished. But there is a lot of potential on that album.
Yeah, I wanted to. Those were a bunch of songs that I was going to actually, you know, I feel like I should just cut that record how I meant it to be, and then give it to everyone for free who bought that album.
That'd make that guy happy.
Right?
Yes, I would. You know, I never have enough.
Right.
The first real album that you guys did after, when, you know, the lawsuit was going on and you guys actually ended up doing an album, I saw somewhere, and I think it's hilarious, and I want you to tell them what the name of the band might have been.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gasoline Bath.
Gasoline Bath.
That sounds like something Tony Soprano would do to his enemies.
This is what happened. We were so when we were making that record, you know, at the time the lawsuit thing was happening, and then you know, I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, imagine this: I was in the middle of a lawsuit with Bruce Allen, Little Mountain Studios. I'd actually joined Little Mountain Studios side, you know, to get Stick It back, because you know it was my record. And what happened was wrong. So anyways, so I had just been going through that whole thing, been offered the deal in Danger, and I was like, okay, I have a career back. And I go record the Cockroach record, and then another lawsuit ties that record up. So that's where we were headspace wise. And then grunge, of course, hit, right? Was the death nail for all of us, you know, who were doing the melodic rock thing. Suddenly it wasn't cool. And I guess we had gotten back together around, when did we do Dawn? Was that 95?
It was 95. Yeah.
95. So at that point, the guys had decided to come up. I own my own studio, and the guys decided to fly to Canada and stay here for 3 months and to write this album. It's a record that we all just, you know, sat and wrote together. And of course, we were like, we can't put out a melodic rock record without getting crucified. And so at that point, we were like, there was no record out with me in Danger. So then it was thrown around like, let's just be a new band. What does it matter at this point? So we recorded that whole album thinking it was going to be, you know, a new band. And the gasoline bath thing happened. And I was filling up my car at the gas station in Bruno. And I overfilled it, and gas splashed all over him and me. He was hanging outside the car talking to me, and then he's like, dude, I took a gasoline bath. And then we looked at each other. Sounded appropriate. So yeah, that could have been gasoline bath.
Oh, very 90s.
Very 90s, right?
The cover of
I
this
would have
is
loved
very
to be in a gasoline bath. Sorry, what did you say, John?
I said the cover of this is very 90s. To me, this looks like an Alice in Chains cover.
It looks like, I was going to say, it looked like Ultraphobic by Warrant.
Yeah, yeah. But
that was shot in a junkyard right near my house. Like it was shot at a place called Bulldog Auto, which was a wrecking yard.
Paul,
yeah.
Earlier today, before the show, you said you didn't have a very good memory. What the heck? Bulldog Auto. How do you remember all this stuff?
Oh, it's still fucking there.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm just like, sitting here in awe. You're like, May 12th, 1989. I'm like, how do you remember everything in such detail?
Guys, I just did that for profiling purposes.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. Welcome to the Alzheimer's radio show. Sorry, Paulzheimer's.
He'll be here all night, folks.
How's your steaks?
Tip your waiter. I'm sorry, I hijacked everything. Go ahead, John.
We were talking about Dawn.
We were talking about
yeah.
I do like the darker approach, the heavier. I mean, it's a heavy album. Songs like Helicopter, Crawl, Wide Awake and Dead. That's probably my favorite one on the album.
Yeah, we were working out. I was definitely lyrically working out all my childhood shit with that record. So that was like, that album was therapy for me, you know, as a songwriter and lyricist.
It's fit in with the grunge
a little
theme.
darker.
Yeah, it's a little darker. Sorry, kids. And then, when it came out as a Danger record, I was like, okay, I guess everyone got frightened. Like 2 weeks before we were about to put it out, everyone got scared. I was stoked to be Gasoline Bath or whoever we were going to be. and then it was danger. And at the end of the day, that was the right decision to make, because I got to go on and make rock records again that were on point with more of where the band would have continued on.
Yeah,
So,
and it's I think the reason I probably discovered it is because it was danger and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it was a shock when I heard it, because you go from Ted Poley era Screw It, very sexual, very 80s,
Tongue in cheek.
early 90s, to this, and I loved the change, because it was the 90s. It was not the happiest of times, so it was a wonderful change, and I think it suited your voice fine.
Yeah. Do you know Bruno keeps remixing that record? It sounds amazing now. I hope he puts it out, because we have the technology to make it sound very modern now. So hopefully that comes out just as something that they'll do for the fans. And
4 years from now, the 30th anniversary. So hey.
Oh right, that's not very far away, is it?
No.
God, how old are we?
That? 30 years.
God damn it.
You better tell Bruno to pick a remix and get that thing out for the anniversary.
Like, he's gonna see this and go, what? Listen, man, what are you talking about?
Why did you tell these guys?
Yeah, try to make more work for me. No, I hope it comes out. I heard little snippets of it. He's been like just playing around with it, and Bruno's an incredible from where he was mixing like in the great Gildersleeves days to where he's at now. It's like, oh my God, I love his mixing. Like he made those Defiance records sound unbelievable.
But you're no slouch either, am I right?
Yeah.
I can't pat myself on the back, but thank you.
Yeah, because you mixed the Radio Sun albums, right?
Yeah. I would have liked to have been in the studio to record those records, because it's hard when you're mixing a record, that people just hand you in the stuff, and you're like, okay, now I got to deal with all of this. I can't, because they live in Australia or whatever. I can't go, can you recut this, and can you use this mic pre, and can you use this? It's very, very hard when you're mixing albums to do what you actually want to do. So, but yes, I think I mixed 5 records for them.
Yeah, and those all sound great. So
thank you.
So yeah, you're no slouch.
We just have a viewer question here. T-Bone is wondering if you produce other acts in your home studio, or if it's just for you.
I don't. I do and I don't. Let me explain that. Mainly what I do now is I write for TV shows. I compose music for television shows.
Right.
Simply because A, I get to write all the time. B, there's more money in it. And it fulfills a desire that, my whole life has been, musical journey wise has been like a checklist of things that I wanted to do. I wanted to write for television. I want to write for movies. There's things that I have yet to do. There's things that excite me as a composer. And what am I supposed to do? I can only make so many Defiance records, and I can only do so many things that will only, like, as a recording artist, I can only cover so much ground. As a writer for film, I can write orchestral music. I can write polka if I need to, and so it's a great challenge for me. Yes, I do produce the odd thing, but mainly I use it as a writing studio, and I try to make my living as a full-time composer more than producing other acts. But I do have a few acts that I work with, yeah.
Cool. How many polka songs do you have currently in the can?
I have, do you want me to consult my TV library?
Was that an actual serious answer? Have you written polka?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I write electro swing. I just wrote some themes for a new CBS series, SRX Racing. I write industrial metal for Inked Masters, tattoo show.
Yeah.
I watched that.
Wrote a bunch of Italian folk music for Real Housewives. You know,
What?
yeah,
Are you serious?
seriously.
So when
Yeah,
my mom has been watching Real Housewives, you've been playing Italian folk music.
yeah.
Wow.
Tell your mom hello. That sounded wrong.
I know John saw your name on American Pickers.
Yeah, and yeah, I did AGT as well. That was odd to get that.
America's Got Talent.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Okay,
theme
okay.
song.
No, it was a song they used of mine called. It was like they must have used it for. They must have used it for like when someone lost, because they used a very sad song that I had written.
Okay.
So
Wah, wah, wah.
yeah, no, it was a song I wrote called "Never Getting Over You," and I was like, man, I have to look at the. I have my SOCAN statement. Well, Mike, you know what that is. Basically,
Yes.
John, an ASCAP BMI statement. So every time something gets placed in television, like I don't always know what I'm writing for. Actually, maybe 10% of the time I know what I'm writing for. Once I get my royalty statement, it shows what shows my music is on and which tracks. Because I work for a company in New York called MIBE Music, and I work for BMG and Crucial, who does all the Netflix series. And so, yeah, you never know what shows you're going to be in unless the company tells you. They just give you a brief. It's like, this show, you know, here's an outline of the show. Here's the music that we need. And yeah, so the America's Got Talent thing was like, that's weird. And thank you for the check.
We're learning so much here tonight. This is great.
Yeah.
So with that, since we're there, you compose like orchestra as well as songs, kind of
You
both?
got it. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I didn't know that about you as far as the orchestrating and just the musical side of it. So
I'm always
Yeah,
surprised
it's
to hear
kind
about
of. I'd love to sit down. Kip Winger and I should do a show.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually, it'd be really boring. It'd be so boring. So, Kip, when you are, recording your ostinatos.
No, I love stuff like that. I love soundtracks.
Yeah.
Jeff Russo from Tonic is another one. He's composed all the new Star Trek series.
Oh wow!
Love to see your name on a Star Trek series, but
Yes, me too. That would be amazing. Well, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe it's already been used and you're just waiting for the statement.
Yeah. We find out in the music supervision world. Music supervision, for people who don't know, is music for film and television. It works just like radio royalties. So, for example, I'll write a piece of music. I don't get paid for it till 9 months after its first airing, and then every quarter I'm paid for it. So it's basically a year later that I find out what it's music I've forgotten, that I wrote. Right. And then I'm like, oh, and then I'll like, sometimes I want to see the show that it's in, so I can, I'll hopefully I have it on Crave or Netflix or whatever streaming services, and then I can go watch it and then get totally bummed out because they use 5 seconds of it.
But then it's still a check.
And it's still a check. That took 2 days. What? That's the reality of it. That's
2
the
days
reality.
of your
When I
life.
first got into television, I thought, this is so exciting. And I remember the first show I saw that I was on, it was like, oh, all right.
2 days of your life distilled down to 5 seconds.
Right. You
Soundbite.
feel like that kid looking down and just kicking a rock. Okay, I guess it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. All right.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, we'll move on to For the Hard Way.
Ah, yes.
My favorite song on it, I want to know the story behind it. It's Captain Bring Me Down.
Oh boy. Okay. I was working with. This is kind of sad.
Okay.
I was working with this great guy. His name was Randy Brelin, and Randy was making a record in my studio at the time, and so that song came out of an idea conversation that him and I were having about, he's a native guy and grew up here on the West Coast, and there was a lot of bullying going on at that time. And him and I were sharing, and I was bullied in school as well. So we were sharing those stories with each other over the course of making his record. So he we finished his album, and he had gone off to go visit his brother who lived on a reserve up the coast from here, like in a very remote community. And he did heroin with his brother and died.
Oh.
And right when we had finished his record. So I took this idea that we had been talking about and wrote that song. And from our conversations and experiences. So that's what it was about. It was kind of a story. We both had a story about, as someone who had antagonized us incessantly when we were young, and made school life hard and scary. And, I actually, stuff was bad for me in school. I left after grade 10 and just did correspondence because of the bullying thing, right? So that's what that song's about. It's about we had both ran into our bullies years later, who then treated us like they were our best pals.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why the lyrics of that song, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I remember hearing that the first time, and I play it all the time because it's just a powerful song, and your emotive vocals on that just nailed it perfectly.
Thank you. Yeah, that song meant a lot to me, definitely. When I read it, means a lot to me still. And and it's a nice tribute to me for my friend. Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. Well, I'll try and pick it back up with this.
Sure.
I didn't know it was that sad of a story, so.
You ask a question, you get an answer.
That's part of what it's about.
We'll go to the next one. Return of the Great Gildersleeves. First off, what does that title mean?
Okay, so sure. Gildersleeves is like this club in New York and this whole scene that happened around it. Where bands like Stars and Kiss and that whole thing. So that whole Gildersleeves era, which is what Bruno and Steve grew up in. And they wanted to pay. That's why when you open up, I think that's the album where we all have pictures of us as kids inside it. Right? I think there's a dollar bill motif in there too, which came out of a club.
There it is.
There you go, right? That's all of us when we were kids around the time that, not for me, but the guys are a little older than me, but meaning that we all decided, let's get pictures of us when we were 16 or 17 years old and, dreaming about and seeing the bands that we wanted to see in our whole scene in our area. Because every place has a scene, right? Whether you live in New York or you live in Vancouver or Toronto or Thunder Bay or whatever, there's a rock and roll scene that happens there. And there's the shit that you grow up with that influences you. And that's kind of what it's about. For them, it was Gildersleeves. For me, it was
Ram era.
Yeah, you got it. And those guys grew up right in the heart of that whole thing.
Did you ever dress up as Kiss? And if so, who?
So, sadly, guys, I came and all the Kiss fans are going to hate me. I discovered Kiss way later. I grew up. Let me explain something. So I grew up. I was adopted as a kid. When I was like 5, into the Laine family, and they were Mormons. Okay. And so I grew up like living like an Amish person on a farm, and not allowed any rock and roll, not allowed to play music. So I had this like, my discovery of rock music happened because of a teacher at school my grade 4 and grade 5 teacher, much to my parents' chagrin, they couldn't stand him. He had long red hair and a big red beard, and he brought me rock and roll records to school. And he used to give me, remember those little portable record players, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming no 20-year-olds watching this. The suitcase style.
Yeah.
He handed me that, and he brought me in like Beach Boys records and Lighthouse and Jimi Hendrix. And so that's all the stuff that I heard first. I didn't hear the music of my era. I heard the older stuff. And then I as I got older, I left home at 13. So when I left home and I got emancipation from I took my family to court and got emancipation, and had a job and working at a hotel, and essentially grew up really fast, and discovered all of this other music. So Loverboy and Cheap Trick and Foreigner for sure, and Thin Lizzy and all of that kind of stuff was more of the things that influenced me. And that, of course, I had a Born to Run album. I wish that there was a tape of me, singing Thunder Road when I was 11 or 12 to legitimize. So yeah, did I get off on a tangent? What was the question?
It was which member of Kiss would you dressed up as? Maybe just pick Paul Stanley and go with it. I don't know.
Yes, Paul Stanley.
Yeah. Yep. Because no one wants to be Peter. Yeah.
Oh, zing.
So,
oh boy. So yeah, no, sorry. Kiss came later for me.
Well, that's fine. I dressed up as Paul as well. So.
Danger, however, huge Kiss fans, and they were lucky enough to do 2 Kiss world tours. So
yeah, I saw him in Atlanta, off the Screw It tour, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how I got into the band, was because they opened for Kiss, and I was like, "Who's this?" And
there you go.
Discovered them that way.
Didn't CC Banana do a song called Ted Poley to the music of Unholy?
Unholy, yeah.
Do I have that right?
That's awesome, yeah.
Someone sent me that. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and Ted even put it on his Greatest Hits album.
Right.
Sorry, his Greatest Hits album.
Fantastic.
So,
sorry, John.
there is a song on here that takes me back to the 70s. When I used to watch $6 Million Man, I even had the little action figure. You pull the skin up, you can see that. You look through the head, and you can see the eye.
Yep.
So the song $6 Million Man on here is a big standout for me, because that just took me back to my
yeah. So again, it's I'm a giant nerd, right? So you have to be a nerd to write $6 Million Man. Yeah. So I was always working on. I always thought Danger would just be over. Like every time we were making a new record, I was like, we're making a new record? Like every time we finished a record, I was like, that's probably the last thing we'll do. Not because I didn't have faith in the band. It was the music industry in the 90s was like, is this even sustainable? Because grunge happened, and then Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys and all the rest of that stuff happened. And it's not like we were getting to even play, the shows were like slowly going down. So yeah, $6 Million Man, actually every song that I wrote on that record was just going to be for my next band. I think the band I created at that time was called Cosby with a K. Thank God. Thank God. I thought that sounded cool, Cosby. I was totally into surf. I was like, that's a cool surfer band name. And
we're glad that didn't happen.
Yes. Right. That was the actual. I actually have a CD lying around here somewhere with the Cosby logo. The band that date rapes. Oh my God. Cosby
with a big Kiss font K and
right. So yeah, $6 Million Man, Jaded, those songs were all written for like sort of my, super power punk rock band that I was always going to do and never did because another Danger contract would come up and I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just give you these songs. And so that's kind of in one way how that evolved the Danger sounds. It's because I was always going to be doing something else.
Did you have to get the rights to use that, We Can Rebuild Him and all that stuff?
No, I just put it on there and winced. Just like, if no one calls me, I guess we're all right. And then we weren't really on the radar anymore, so nobody called us to give us help. But now that I'm on your show, thanks a lot, Mike.
Yeah, unfortunately, the phone's going to ring.
Yeah, it's his show, by the way.
Yeah, throw it on me, John. Thank you. Under the bus.
Yeah, uncomfortable silence, gentlemen.
He just threw me under the bus. This is his last co-hosting gig.
Yeah.
John, you're fired.
Yeah.
All right. Wouldn't be the first time. Probably won't be the last. Touring. Let's go. I kind of wanted to talk about touring because, like I said, I'm sadly haven't been able to see you live. So I was kind of curious as to what's some of the bands that you've opened for. I know of Satriani, of course, but
yeah, sure. Bryan Adams, Joan Jett. As far as the solo career goes, God, Colin James, Killer Dwarfs. It's wacky all over the place. Richard Marx.
was that solo or?
Yeah, so these are all just solo things I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, Richard Marx. I don't see that one, but yeah, okay.
Right, I know. You just kind of back in the day. Let me explain something. When you have the start of your career, basically your management company just tries to get you on anything that can get you out there. That's going to create some sort of press. And I guess I don't know. I was the Jordan Knight of rock,
according to Meat Magazine. Apparently,
according to Meat Magazine. I think that comment was just because back in the day when I was a handsome young man, a lot of teenage girls would show up at my shows.
Yeah, there was a story there about you getting swarmed. Yeah,
I was on the Much Music. Do you remember the Much Music did? Sorry, John. La la la. Canadian MTV did a Pepsi train across Canada where they were doing the Much Music Awards. And that was my first, they'd stop in all these towns. And I hadn't played any show. I was actually on my way to play Molson Park with Joan Jett, north of Toronto, right? The big outdoor Canada Day summer festival kind of thing. And teenage girls were like breaking down the barriers to get backstage at these outdoor shows, and
they broke down the barricades.
They broke, yes, like the song. Yeah. So the one incident that was really funny was Erica M was back. I had never played a show, and I was very shy, and not realizing that once you have something out on MTV, just kind of the whole world knows you instantly, So you go from being just a small town kid, to instant kind of, rock star status when you haven't earned it yet. So we're standing backstage in this one town, and what that story is all based on is and I had was wearing the cowboy hat back in that day, and I had gone out and played an acoustic set there's a bunch of other bands playing, and then these girls just went nuts, and they just had those sawhorses, and not very many security people, and so they just like bum rushed me in this train station. All of a sudden there was like 2,000 girls outside in the middle. We were like near you. We were in like Sioux Falls or something weird like that, like somewhere in Ontario. And so Erica grabs my hat and starts beating these girls with my cowboy hat, and they ripped my earrings out. And yeah, so that was maybe that's why I got the Jordan Knight comment.
I'm just looking for the article to see where it was. I think it was Sioux Falls. I think it says so in the article.
Oh, come on. Is that right?
I think so. Just I'm trying to find the page. We were in a town called Capriol, apparently.
Okay, Capriol. There you go.
And God, that place just flipped out. It was great. They ripped off half my jewelry and ripped the earring right out of my ear. Wow. And you know what?
I lost the big hooker hoops from Doriana.
Oh,
video.
Oh,
I should tell you though that John is not completely ignorant of this stuff because I'm uploading all my Power Hour videos to YouTube, so he knows who Erica M is. He's seen Erica M. He knows who these people are.
And I know my music now.
Power Hour.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
What you got, John?
Just for fun stuff. When you go to a tour, when you go to a city, like when I go on vacation and I'm in a city I haven't been, I hit a record store.
Yes.
When you're on tour, is there anything you like to do in the cities you go to if you have time?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to grab a little day pack and just get out wherever I'm going. I mean, now with the Defiance, we're touring. We play in Europe more than we haven't played one American show yet. So, so you know, the beauty of that is every time I go over there is I can just kind of get out and go, you know, and after we're finished playing whatever shows, I generally stay on and go, you know, do something in a country that I hadn't done. Last time I went to Italy for 3 weeks and just went to Venice and Florence and, you know, went to Cinque Terre and hung out there so yeah, you know, you got to take those. I love traveling and I love just getting out and doing stuff. You know, got this life, right?
Yeah.
Got to do it while you can.
That's right.
Italy's a bucket list trip for me.
Oh, dude, you have to go. It's my whole life I wanted, and then once you get there, it's better than you can imagine. So definitely keep it on the list.
Yeah, I finally got to Paris 2 years ago, and that's just the greatest trip ever so far was Paris. So
yeah, Paris is wonderful.
Just walking around when we got off the subway or whatever they call it, metro, and walked around this building, and it's like the Eiffel Tower's right there, and it was just, I mean, I almost cried. It was just like,
yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it, because you see this. I had that moment. I was in Athens playing a show, and like that was another like boyhood. You know, I grew up watching Jason and the Argonauts and all these, you know, these things that you see that are, you know, intrinsically they're they leave this indelible impression on your heart, and you don't even realize, you know, from such an early age, right? So when you're there, it is emotional. I flew in, I was bawling on the plane. I was like, there's all the stuff I saw in history books, you know?
Yeah.
And then I white knuckle landed because I thought the plane was going to crash. I might not get to see this. Anyways, sharing is caring. Go on.
All right. What was the largest crowd you ever played in front of?
30,000.
30. What's the smallest?
My grandma's living room.
That is true.
No, John, the smallest is tonight.
Damn
it, Mike! Why didn't I say that? I was for a joke and I didn't take it.
Stealing your thunder.
Well,
if I might ask another question about touring, I read that you toured with Kim Mitchell. Is that true? And were you able to learn anything from him as a veteran?
Well, that's not true, and I learned nothing.
Well, there you go. Whoever wrote that Wikipedia article, you go and edit that. You get that out of there. Didn't happen.
Okay, I have not read Wikipedia. Is that on Wikipedia about me?
Well, I read it somewhere. It was probably Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
let's take a look here. I don't know. I read it somewhere.
I don't even. How does Wikipedia work?
Anybody can just upload anything.
Wikipedia work?
You just
Like
go in
who-
and edit whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can just go in and edit whatever you
Yeah,
want.
but you're supposed
Yeah.
to tag it with some reference of an article or something.
Supposed to.
You're supposed to. Yes. They don't always.
Yeah, here it is. I found it. It's actually on CanadianBands.com. And
Most reputable website, I might add.
it said that you struck out on the road for the better part of the next year, opening for Kim Mitchell, Bryan Adams, and Richard Marx. So that's wrong, I guess.
Kim Mitchell is not right.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I like being able to correct fallacies on the internet. I do like that.
I just like the word fallacies.
Well, if I may suggest and take a cut of the royalties, that would make a great song title.
Let's write the next.
Now I have since we're on live stuff, live and nude.
Yes, my last night ever with Danger.
Wow.
How did you feel about singing the Polly songs? Did that bother you at all? Because there's some singers that
look at. I look at it this way. Number one, all those songs are written by Steve and Bruno, right? Okay. And I'm a giant. I just think you got to honor the work. You know, I like those songs.
They're great songs. And your interpretation of them was fantastic.
Yeah, and they, thankfully they allowed me to do my interpretation of it. So when I joined the band, it's like, I got to sing things my way. I could not, cop the Ted, and why should I, do the exact Ted version? That album is surprising because we had been recording that whole tour. We knew we were going to make a live record, but the London night, we always, like at the end of every Danger tour, the last night, as you do, we had a lot of we cut loose. Yeah. So London was, I was literally hanging on to my mic stand. I drank a bottle and a half of Cuervo 1800 Gold that night. And we were, because A, it was the last night of the tour, we didn't care. B, we could do that show on autopilot. C, there was a Canadian band opening for us, which is odd. We were in London, and Robin Black and the Intergalactic Rock Stars. Remember them, Mike?
The name is. I'm pretty sure I've seen them in Meat Magazine. That's
a great name.
Right. So they were like this glam rock. They just had a little blip on the scene back when that record was done. The singer was in a show called Kink or something on Canadian television about fetishes. Yeah. So he had a bit of fame. Him and his girlfriend were on that show about their, yeah.
Was that, I think that was James Franco. James Franco did that, I think. Produced it, I think.
Okay.
I think. Because it's ringing a bell. It's ringing a bell.
So Robin Black was the singer. He was this dude, and yeah, just total glam. Anyway, so there are a bunch of Canadian guys opening for us, and so I'm like, I got dudes from Canada. We're drinking. so that led to the excessive drinking, and then that night turned out to be just the best sounding night out of all of them. And I do not remember. That is also why I am not speaking on that album. I can barely.
It goes from song to song. Yeah.
I am holding on for dear life. That's what I remember. Holding on for dear life, and please just remember the lyrics. and yeah. So I didn't know that was my last night with the band, and then I decided that same night. A record company had flown in and offered me the deal for Shoegazer. Yeah. So I left, and that's really funny because, yes, I had Magnus Soderquist from MTM had then joined, and he had ran the label that did the Gildersleeves and For the Hard Way. That's we put it out on his label. And then he started a new record company and signed me, asked me to make a record for him. So I was like, this is my jumping off point. And yeah, I remember being very drunk and apologizing to him after that show, him talking to me about the record deal. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry, I'm hammered. And I hope we still have a record deal tomorrow. And
That's a great show. You sound great on this.
Thank you. I know. Maybe I should be drunk more often.
This is the only time I've heard you live, so I love this one.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, on someone brought it to my attention, I don't know, 6 months ago on Spotify. My version of I Still Think About You is like at 4 million hits.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite Ted songs, and I would put yours up against that any day. It's just as good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to add that one to my Amazon wish list.
All right. You don't have that album?
I don't. Now I will. I will get it. Actually, you know what? I was just saying, just before you arrived, I do have a confession to make, which is I'm actually a rather new fan. And I didn't get this album back then, and I'm really, really glad that I got it now, because I have been playing it virtually nonstop since I got it, and probably 5 or 6 times this week alone. So,
wow, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I was like one of those under the radar guys.
It wasn't that. Like, obviously, I knew who you were, but I was kind of like in a different phase of my life at that time. Like, I wanted to go heavy, you know?
Yeah, and you were at the Slayer shows.
I was an angry young man, and I'm not so angry now, and I'm really, really glad that I've matured and can listen to stuff like this and just be blown away. Like, you know, like I was saying earlier.
Michael Bolton.
Right. You know, like I was saying before, you know, there's a lot more to that album than what I would have assumed as a young fella in 1990 with like this magazine article talking about Jordan Knight, you know, and you know, the Rush influences and stuff. And I'm really glad. Better late than never is my saying, and I owe it to this guy who said, you know, you got to get some Defiance and you got to get his solo album and stuff like that. So my collection is beginning, and I think I'm going to get that live album next. You got to have this one. I love this one. It's very modern compared to a lot of your other stuff, and I think your tone, the way you're singing is a little different on this one too.
Yeah, I really wanted to separate. I was always, how do I say this? I always felt like in Danger, I was very, you know, inside a mold of, you know, we can only push the envelope so far. And, but I was always writing music that was never going to get heard. And, part of the reason I got that shoegazer deal is because Magnus had heard what I was working on, and he gave me a great record contract. It was like, gave me the money that I would have gotten for doing a Danger record. And he's like, you know, this is how much I believe in you as a songwriter. And, you know, I think it's time. And so I really, that record for me was just kind of spreading my wings and, you know, as a composer, and being able to just do something. And if I had done another Danger record, then that's what people would have said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
a lot of the co-writes in that are by Parr?
No, so that's a typo, first of all.
Okay, good.
I forget what that word means, but it means, it's like a thing they forgot to remove off there. That's like, it's a Swedish word. I should look it up. So, you know, they apologized to me because Parr is nobody. That's like,
okay, because I
literally means like this is where the title needs to go or whatever.
Okay.
Or it's the word by. Yeah.
Oh,
anyways,
because
so Parr is nobody.
I couldn't find who it was.
Just me and Chris Matheson, the guitar player. We worked on that record together, yeah. And yeah, when I got the album, I was like, "Who's Parr? What is that?"
Oh man,
that is a typo.
See, now
I'm
I
glad
feel
I
bad
asked.
because John's been researching this all week and he's been, furiously
I spent
trying
an
to figure
hour
out who
just trying
Parr
to
is.
dig. Who the hell is Parr?
This is why.
I was like looking at initials of everybody, going, "No, that's not that
No.
person."
yeah. That's a typo.
There you go, John. Mystery solved.
Hey,
Done.
We're done. I'm good now. I'm good.
That's the end of that chapter.
Mystery songwriter.
I had a couple questions on this one. Cosmonaut. What the
Yeah.
hell is what's the meaning behind that one? Because it's like $1 in my pocket, just like a cosmonaut, and I'm like, okay, I don't get it. I don't know the phrase. I love the song.
Do cosmonauts even have pockets?
Do they have $1?
No, I think they use rubles.
The chorus is, hang on, this is going way back. Can't remember the chorus. Just like a cosmonaut, you came crashing, right?
Right.
I think it was about a girl, who's like, basically destroying someone's world.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, Miss Universe forgot her social standing. I can't remember the lyrics, but it was, that's a song about a girl.
There you go.
Using cosmonaut as a metaphor. I guess I had seen I was watching, those cosmonauts burn up on camera, inside. I love old NASA and space. Yeah, I'm a total nerd. Anyways, $6 Million Man. Come on, you seen a pattern here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. I'm a fellow nerd. I mean, I asked you about Star Trek, so
Yeah.
maybe I'll interrupt John real quick and say, Kirk or Picard?
Oh man, that's a tough one because look, the grown-up in me loves Picard, but the child in me loves what is that commercial? That's Pop-Tart commercial, or is it Cinnamon Toast Crunch? I don't know.
I can't remember. I think it was mini wheats, frosted mini wheats, maybe.
Right, that's a frosted mini wheats commercial. So that's of course I prefer Picard now, but if I go back and watch the old school Star Trek, which I did recently, I love the campiness of it, and I love William Shatner.
Yeah,
it still holds up. Like, as campy as it is, it's still like my 11-year-old heart is happy watching it.
Plus, he's a Canadian.
Yeah,
He's turning 90 this year. He's turning 90.
Wow.
Whoa.
Maple syrup running through his veins.
And he's still putting out albums.
Oh yeah, wouldn't you love to appear on one of Shatner's albums? That'd be cool,
right?
We have one comment here that's choosing Commander Sisko of DS9 as their favorite because you have to have a contrarian. So someone like Sisko, and that's all good.
Fair enough. Let's not start flame wars over Star Trek.
Nope. We're all friends. So I'm glad you can geek out with us a little bit. It's funny, a lot of guys who are into hard rock are also into stuff like science fiction too. You hear that?
Yeah, man. I think it's. I think if you're just, look, I found that most people in the music industry are total nerds, and they're nerdy about weird things. It's like, I've got a collection of Weebles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like people. When you're a songwriter, recording artist, there's a part of you that never has to grow up, and the world excuses you for your weirdness. So you don't necessarily ever have that pressure to, push down the nerdy things that you like to do. You can just be eccentric.
That's a beautiful thing right there.
Right?
Yeah. The rest
and then
of us
for the
have to
rest of
hide
you
it.
guys who are in the music business, I mean, fuck you. You just all weird. That was a very exclusionary statement. I take it all back. Shut up, Pauline. Okay.
John, I'm sorry. I keep hijacking all your questions.
No, this is fine. I love it. One other song for Lennon.
That's a
yes.
good one.
Obviously
That's a good
about John Lennon.
Yes.
What did he mean to you? And
I just, just again, growing up, and I was a giant Beatles fan, and then a giant fan of his solo albums, and I loved the Milk and Honey record. It was a big influence on me, just melody-wise, and I felt like when I was doing the Shoegazer record, a lot of that influence of that whole British kind of thing came out on that record. Like that record to me is all of my British influences growing up, and John Lennon was a big part of that. And I felt like just writing a tribute song to him, and then just about his message and of peace, and that it's all about it, the next generation carrying it on. And so that's what it was.
Yeah, that was the first song on that album I think I gravitated towards.
It's a great song.
And now I have been playing all 12 of your albums like nonstop since you agreed to be on the show, so I could get.
I'm sorry.
Now I love Enough. What did I miss?
He said, "I'm sorry to hear that."
No, it's been great.
Thank you. Thank you.
But now my favorite on here is Enough, the very last song.
Also a great song.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, that's a really personal song.
Yeah, I won't make you tell the story or anything. So, but that was
it's a little heartbreaking. So I'll leave that one out.
We've had a few of those tonight. So let's try to keep it.
Yeah,
up.
We'll go on with that.
Yeah, keep it up.
But you can tell the songs that mean that much to you, they come across, and that's I think why I gravitate towards them.
Good, thank you. That's the compliment of the evening. Thank you.
There you go, John. You just made John's night.
John's by being on it for 5 minutes, you made my night. So that was good.
I should also tell you that in the comments, there's so many comments here, but there's a huge battle going on about Star Wars, Star Trek, Vader, Transformers are now involved here. It's absolutely crazy. There's absolutely nothing going on about music in the comment section, but there's stuff like this. Spock came back to life, which is something Vader never did. This guy prefers Count Dooku to Vader, definitely, but Vader's whole deal is being conflicted. I don't know what we've done here, but oh my God, look at that hot take. Star Wars died in 1983. Okay, you know what? I'll ask you that. What's your take on that, Paul? Did Star Wars die in 1983, or do you think that? Okay.
No, I just watched The Mandalorian and I totally geeked out.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
It was awesome.
I mean, Baby Yoda, come on.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
Yeah. I guess. Okay, so we all know that you're on board with Star Wars. That's fantastic. What else do you like to geek out about? You mentioned history, and I'm kind of curious about like what you're interested in.
Yeah, I watch pretty much nothing but documentaries, and so when I was the only other thing I ever wanted to be when I was a kid, I had two choices in my life, which was I was either going to be a songwriter or I was going to be an archaeologist. So that explains. And but now. What are my biggest kind of hobbies now are, I've always been a car guy.
Okay.
And I got into Volkswagens.
I live in a van.
Yeah. I have a 76 Westphalia, and I have an old Myers Manx fiberglass dune buggy, road street legal.
Nice.
And I've had a whole bunch of VW buses. And so here, I always joke around I'm a West Coast cliche because, vegetarian surfer, drive a old VW bus, and it's hard to look at myself in the mirror.
Are there any other cliches you would like to embody?
We could go so many places, Mike. So many places. Let's not.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's kind of like, the older I get, the more I like, grow my own food, and
Cool.
just again, it's pretty boring shit, but that's the stuff I love. I like working on old cars and writing music. Pretty simple.
Are you a foodie?
Am I a foodie? Well, I'm a foodie, but I'm a vegetarian. So it's like no one wants to hear about the food that I eat.
Well, I was going to say, even being a vegetarian, I imagine the food in Italy must have been.
Oh yeah, amazing. Like the good thing about Italy is that you're walking everywhere, so you're not going to gain 10 pounds if you go there, unless you're just getting food and going back to your hotel room, which would be a crime. But yeah, I mean, God, look. Isn't it interesting though that like food culture, that was not something that happened in the 70s.
No.
Like you went to foodies, I guess, would go to Paris, and that's where stuff was happening. And now it doesn't matter where you go in the world. I go to Charlotte, North Carolina, and there'd be some bomb ass amazing restaurants. The bar has been set. It's like in the global consciousness. I can't say that word.
Consciousness.
You say it, Mike. Your turn.
Consciousness.
Okay, everybody out there in the internet world. There's 4 people watching.
Like I said, it's the biggest show you've ever done. Although my mom, Paul, big compliment. My mom says it's the best show that I've ever done. So, and she's watched like all 63 of them. So there we go. Oh, look at that. Chris Sarr agrees. You are the best show we've ever done. So thank you, Paul.
Checks in the mail, buddy.
Right?
I don't know how you're doing for time. We've been on for close to 2 hours.
We have?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was going to mention the same thing. Are we good on time? Or
yeah, we're good. We're good. We can keep going. You can shut me up. You guys can do whatever you want.
Well, I'm not going to shut you up.
Yeah. Might not ever give you on again, so I need to take advantage of it.
All right.
I might need to refill my. You know what? I'm going to go refill my coffee.
All right. Go ahead. Let's do another 20 minutes or something.
All right. That sounds good. All right.
Want to do it, John? You got any questions?
We're going to talk about your favorite album.
All right. I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah. Andre Anderson, Paul Laine, and David Redman. Album titled 3.
Yes.
What was that project? Was that a Frontiers project or something else?
I don't even know what that was. So let's turn back time a little bit. We in Danger, we were being managed by a guy named Michael Raitson. Right? David, keep going. All right. Michael Raitson was the Danger manager, and he also Michael was from Russia and had immigrated to New York and raised his family there. And so Michael still had ties to a band called Royal Hunt, which he was managing a band called Royal Hunt before he took on Danger. I don't know if anyone knows who that is, like prog rock,
right?
Classical metal. I don't know how to describe them exactly. How would you describe Royal Hunt?
I call them Euro metal, but who knows? I'm sure I'll get a million comments saying how stupid I am.
Yeah, well, it's only the stupid pile, people, because I don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyways, because he managed on Royal Hunt and Andre Anderson wanted to make this album, shared management. He asked me, "Hey, would you do some songs for Andre?" I said, "Okay." So I got the album, and I was like, "Look, this is not a record for me, because it's totally not my style of singing." And I really felt that it was going to be not cool for his fans, and so I bowed out after doing. I think I did 3 songs on there. Is there 3?
I think you did 5.
I did 5.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you did 5 and David did 5.
Okay, so yeah, that's when I was like, this is not a record for me. So that became, getting David in, because I basically left the project.
Yeah.
Not as any sort of negative thing. It just, I really felt like I couldn't contribute to it. I felt it felt dishonest. So I pulled out, and so that's when David came in to, I guess, save the rest of the album.
Oh, so it wasn't set up originally as David gets happy.
No. So I think originally it was just going to be myself and Andre Anderson, but my manager had told me, oh, he's doing something that's more along what you would do. And then so, I was really questioning my manager after that. Like, you think that this is where I'm going? This is not where I'm going. So I he kind of saw where I was going. He managed me through the shoegazer stuff too. That's right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, David. I love David Rudman. His vocals are just
Great
astounding.
singer.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever? I'm sure you didn't get to work with him on this.
And I've never actually met him. I've never met him. Never. And then as far as work goes, I just like that album, I was just sent the songs, and I think I had started complaining 3 songs into it. So I'm surprised that I sang 5. I don't own a copy of it, and that's not to be disparaging about that record. Just
Well, yeah. The completist in me had to have it, so it was one of those things.
Sure. It's part of the collection.
Yeah.
I don't even know the song titles. That's not arrogance. I just, again, it was one of those things. It's like, it just felt wrong at the time, and like I was doing a disservice to Andre and his music.
Yeah, and no offense to it, I couldn't either. I could name every song on every other album, but that one, I like it. The vocals are great, but you're right. It's not exactly what you'd expect.
No, we needed a big, like, one of those guys, and
like Jorn or somebody.
Right. Yeah, Jorn would be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but Eric Litwiller is asking, staying with the sci-fi theme, is it correct to assume that the name Danger Danger was inspired by Will Robinson? I kind of doubt it myself, but
I don't know. I don't think that they've even answered that question. They certainly never told me. I always got the feeling that it was because they wrote song titles that had double names, and they must have,
Bang Bang, Naughty Naughty.
Yeah.
Right. Bruno's going to call me tomorrow and go, jackass.
Jackass.
I'm totally getting that call tomorrow. No, I don't know. That might be correct.
If I have to apologize to anybody tomorrow, please let me know.
There's no saying sorry on the LeBrain train.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Here's a question, but maybe it's even a question for John. But the top 3 albums someone should check out if they've never heard Paul Laine.
Oh, well, for me, it's Stick It in Your Ear.
For both of you.
Yeah, for me, it's Stick It in Your Ear. Either Defiance album. I kind of like them both equally. And then I like the Shoegazer. I think that's phenomenal. They're all 3 different sounds, and not knocking any of the Danger Danger, because I love all the Danger Danger albums. But it's, for me, on the Danger Danger, I don't know which one to pick.
Yeah. Because
Dawn is much heavier, and it's a little bit darker. But I love it.
Wrong impression of what the band was.
Yeah. So it's just but that's where I would go. What would you want people to know?
Me?
Yeah.
God, I've never been asked that question.
Ah.
I would definitely say the Defiance is probably some of my best singing and best writing. And then I might
There's that one.
And then I'll piss everyone off and say, go check out the Dark Horse record.
We were gonna get to that one.
It's the one we haven't asked about yet.
Yeah, we can get there. Just because there's like a lot of people think it's not really a country record. It's more of a Southern rock, it has kind of all those influences in it. It's, I guess it's country music with Marshalls.
or rock music with pedal steels.
Right. But so that and I'd probably say shoegazer. I mean, the Danger stuff. No, not knocking any of that. I found that my vocals got better over time. So if you want to hear me singing at my best, so those are probably in the shoegazer record. I'd agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just taste depending on what you like. So.
Yeah.
Well, since you gladly mentioned Dark Horse, this will be a great segue into that one. I know I see it labeled as country.
Just asking, what the fuck was going on in your head?
He's trying to figure out a polite way to word it.
Yeah, sure. No. That is so not the case. It was a surprise when I heard it. I didn't expect, the twangy from the country on some of the songs. But
sure,
it's not a country album. I mean, as you were saying, it is a little alt country. It's maybe some Southern rock. But with a ballad like Goodbye, I mean, that's an 80s ballad, basically.
Yeah, it's strong as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So does it irritate you that people think it's kind of country?
No, not at all. Because look, I made it with the guys from Keith Urban and Garth Brooks. So how can you not?
Yeah, I mean, the players you had on it were phenomenal.
Yeah, so I had been writing a bunch of music for country artists here in Canada. I'd hooked up, become friends with some of the guys in a band called Headley.
Yep.
Canada.
And
my buddy Mike was their road manager.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, Tommy, in particular, Tommy Mac. Who always had his hands in other things going on the business side. And he'd asked me to start writing some stuff for a Canadian country artist called Stacey McKittrick. So I started, writing music for her. And again, we all know that country kind of went to the rock side of things.
Yeah.
And I had, I kind of started writing all this music, putting this music off to the side, because remember, I'm writing country songs for girls. And I was writing all this music that I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it's something. And then friends of mine were like, you got to make a record out of this. They kept hearing the songs. What are you going to do with those? What are you going to do with those? And in a way, if I didn't do Dark Horse, the Defiance wouldn't exist. Like nothing that I'm doing now would have ever happened. It put me back on the map as a writer and as a performer again. So yeah, with the Dark Horse thing, I was never going to do it. I needed some, what's the word I'm looking for? I needed to feel like I could legitimately do this music, and sort of part of my journey to doing that was one of my favorite players was a guy named Bruce Boughton, who's like he's a great guitar player, steel player. He's in Garth Brooks' band. He's a steel player, and he played steel on the Shania Twain records, Keith Urban, blah blah blah, on and on and on. So he was this guy that played. I was a giant fan of Jackson Browne, the David Lindley era. Okay, and when Lindley played steel with him, Running on Empty, that whole time, and so Boughton played very much in that style. And so I just bugged the shit out of him. I just kept, the internet. I'm like, dude, I want you to hear my music, and I want to work with you, but I also need you to tell me if this is like real or whatever, right? Because I don't want to do it. For some reason, I needed someone in Nashville to tell me that this was good enough to do. So I bugged the shit out of him, and finally one day he's like, "You're very persistent. Fine, send me 2 songs." So I sent him a couple tunes, and he called me and he said, I want to help you do whatever you want. I love this stuff. So he said, who do you want to make this record with? And I said, you mean I can pick and choose? And he's like, yeah, just name your guys. He goes, I'll get them for you. And he did.
Wow.
And so I just I named off, give me Mark Hill on bass. Can I have Mark Hill? Yeah, you can have Mark Hill. Right. So I went to Nashville and I made that record. And then, so I was very happy doing that. But that, again, because the music videos came out and, was giving me some internet presence, that started Frontiers knocking on my door. So, without one, the other wouldn't have happened.
Well, I'm glad it happened. Now I hear, do you have a second one ready?
I've written an entire one. It's sitting in the can. Yeah.
Will we see the light of day anytime soon?
Yes. It will come out. I have some business things to work out with my former business partner in Dark Horse.
Oh,
and
okay.
When those things are put to bed, then the record will come out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a music business. Welcome to it.
Yeah. Yep. You don't say any more on that.
John's like, okay, next subject.
Yeah. John's like, man, that's two questions I wished I hadn't asked.
That's all right.
For a couple of years.
Bonnie Ladonna likes me.
That's right. That means all the world to me. So.
Sorry, John, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. I was just saying that you've mentioned it for a few years, and so I was kind of curious as to.
Yeah, it'll come out, and maybe next year. It won't happen this year, just simply because I don't have time to. It's sitting there. I haven't mixed it, so it needs to be mixed, and I have to finish the Defiance record finish writing it by the end of the summer, so we can start mixing it. And then I'm doing a ton of TV stuff, and I'm doing 2 other albums of material that's getting released this year. One with this Jet Set Junkies project, and another one we're doing this soundtrack. Me and a guy named Andrew Oy are doing a project called 1988. And so what that is, it's essentially a movie soundtrack, but it's a library of songs. This is interesting. I don't think anyone's done this, and we came up with this idea. Andrew, if you ever look up Andrew Oy and IMDb him, you'll see how many shows and films this guy writes for. He lives on the island here as well, where I live. Okay. So we write a bunch of music. I should say he and I do a little bit for Crucial. Crucial handles all the Netflix series, and Netflix now has, with shows like Stranger Things and Cobra Kai, and there's all these 80s influenced shows.
Yeah.
So came up with this idea to Netflix is taking all of our songs, so we're writing a complete soundtrack album of stuff that sounds period correct for 1988. That's all getting released in Netflix series, and then they've freed us up. They've given us a non-exclusive agreement to release the album.
Nice.
Right? So it's cool.
Yeah.
No one's done that yet.
No.
So we came up with this idea, went to Crucial, and they agreed to it.
Wow.
And so that's going to be cool. And then over the next couple years, we're going to release singles first, and then let everyone know which shows they're in, right? And then so it'll be So it's basically writing a movie soundtrack for a movie that never was, but is spawned off into a whole bunch of different series and Netflix movies. Yeah.
So are you saying that next year or something like that, I could be watching Cobra Kai and one of your tunes is in there?
Absolutely.
Wow. That's cool.
I just finished Cobra Kai. That was awesome, by the way. I love that show.
I haven't seen it yet because I kind of have, I have music. I have so many. Sorry, what?
I said you're swamped with your TV music.
I'm literally swamped. So, every week not every week, but most weeks I'll get a brief. Hey, we need 3 to 5 songs for a series, and 7 different versions of them edited down. right? So it's literally 14-hour days of composing and
Wow.
I
handing
guess
in
there are
work.
worse ways to spend 14-hour days, I suppose. I mean, John and I both
Yeah.
work day jobs.
You could look at spreadsheets and numbers all day.
Yeah, I do dream about just working for the post office or something. That's actually true. I always go, I would like a job that has no pressure. But at the end of the day, I'd be miserable.
Yeah.
I like the challenge of it as much as I miss sleep.
Oh shit, that's funny.
There's no just deadlines, man. That's not supposed to be in rock and roll.
Oh, apparently John's brother Michael has worked on Cobra Kai.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
he does a lot of background and not behind the scenes, but he's an extra in a lot of stuff.
Oh, cool.
There's a couple
He
TV
lives
shows.
in
He's
LA?
from Atlanta, and
Okay.
Atlanta, everything's in Atlanta filming.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
he's been doing that, and I'm waiting for him to get that big role and become a movie star. So
Now I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. Keep us posted on that one, John.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be interviewing Michael on the next episode.
we'll talk about Cobra Kai
Right.
and all the other shows he's been on.
That's pretty cool.
All
John,
right. I'm trying to think where I left off. Oh, I saw the Indoor Summer Festival. I saw that was posted. It's in Germany. It was supposed to be this summer, but I think they moved it to 2022.
Yeah. Well, it's actually originally last year, and then of course they moved it ahead to this year, and then they wrote me about 3 weeks ago saying, unfortunately, with the current situation and the rules in Germany imposed by their government, they had to cancel. So it's getting, they asked, will you play next year? And I said, of course.
Yeah. I think you have Friday night, you're doing an acoustic set with Rob Marcello.
That's right.
And then Sunday, I think you have a full plugged in set.
Yeah, doing a full rock show.
And it's great. I mean, it's basically Canada in Germany because Coney Hatch is playing. Lee Aaron is playing.
Yeah.
And then you've got Corleone. Is that how you say his name? Wigwam, Degreed, Electric Boys. It's a heck of a lineup. And Heat is also on it. So basically next summer, I'm going to try to get to Germany and see this show.
Please do.
Because, man, what a ton of great acts on that one.
That's going to be a riot. Those 3-day festivals are fun. We've done a bunch of them over there. And it's what's cool about it is the whole community thing. Typically what happens with all these festivals, whether it was like Firefest or what's the Nottingham one? I forget what that was called.
I don't have a clue.
Rockingham Festival. Generally what they do, same with HRH, all these European festivals, they bring the bands in, they whatever city it is, right by wherever the venue is, the promoters rent out all the hotels and then sell that as part of the ticket. Okay, so I'll explain why this is interesting. So people buy a ticket to the festival, but they also put the bands in the same hotel that all the fans are in.
Okay.
And so all the fans know this, right? So they get a hotel ticket to the show. They know the bands are going to be hanging out in the hotel bar and whatever. So it's a good opportunity. It's like going to Rock and Roll Comic-Con, if you will. Now, it's not so fun for a lot of the bands, that are maybe don't want to have that interaction because you can't get to your hotel room. People are literally camped out in all the hallways and everywhere else, right? So that's a scene you just take it on the chin, and I enjoy meeting everyone, so it's super fun to go and have a beer and take pictures and hear people's stories. But yeah, so if you come over to that show, you'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, why is it that Europe gets the greatest festivals, but here in the States we just don't, or even I don't know if Canada's the same way, we just don't get great festivals like that. I mean,
not like that.
We're not going to get Heat and Degreed and all these other bands,
right. Well, look at, I guess the money is there to support it because these festivals in Europe, they pay you very well. So it makes it feasible to go do it. Whereas, if you're going to play a show in America, typically they're going to knock $10,000 off of what you would get in Europe.
Yeah.
And make it, like they're doing you a favor. It's not, there's a certain amount of respect and an audience for it in Europe.
Right.
People are willing to pay to see that. And no, I always get the feeling like if someone did this in America, it would totally catch on. Totally would.
Yeah.
Someone just has to have the balls to do it. And of course that takes money, to make happen. Because once you've been to one of those festivals, I don't know if any of you have been to those style of festivals in Europe.
No.
Yeah, it's a great hang. It's a like for fans, it's a great time. People, there's a whole group of people that just go meet each other at these festivals. So it's like every time there's one of these festivals, a giant family reunion for all the fans that they made friends with this person in Germany and that person in Spain and this person who came from people from South America come to Europe a lot to these festivals as well. So yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah. Nice. Now it makes me jealous.
I'm excited that you said Lee Aaron and Coney Hatch.
Yeah, that's going to be cool, right?
Sean Kelly from Lee Aaron and Coney Hatch is actually our very next guest on the show. He's on
cool.
May 21. So
all right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And Andy Curran's coming back as well. So, it's like like you say, a family reunion. You're going to be hanging out with all of our buddies.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, that's also a great thing about that is that it's a good chance to hang with folks you grew up listening to as well. From my side of things.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, Lee Aaron, she was iconic in the 80s as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're always blown away when someone's like, Mike Tramp walked up to me backstage he's like, hey, and I was like, you know who I am? Like made my day. I wanted to start crying. Like, I listened to all your records when I was 16 years old.
No kidding. That's amazing.
Yeah, man, it's cool. It's just a giant nerd fest. Comic-Con, rock and roll Comic-Con, man.
I love that parallel that you said that because it brings us right back to the whole nerd thing, which I totally identify with.
The Brain Train, the nerdiest episode ever, ladies and gentlemen.
It's actually not, but
come on, man. We had people like fighting over Star Trek and stuff.
That is actually true. The comments have absolutely been completely off the rails. Oh my goodness.
Yep. Do we have time?
Well, it's we've been on for two hours, 20 minutes. Maybe we should start wrapping up, John.
All right.
So, yeah, I'll just go. I had one more little thing I found. Well, there's two little things I found. One was something you did called Heroes of Rock.
What's that?
I found a video of it.
Yeah. So what that is? Yeah, that's super cool. There's a company run by two beautiful friends of mine, Jeanette and Jonas, and they do a lot of these. We generally do these charity events, so that's what Heroes of Rock does. And so it's a bunch of guys from like the keyboard player from Buffy St. Marie is in the band. It's like all these guys who play. Yeah, it's just an eclectic group of amazing musicians, and then we'll go and do a charity for whatever it is, and play stuff like Queen. It's all like hard rock. So it's we might do 4 shows a year.
Okay. There was a clip of you doing Dream On by Aerosmith.
Oh God.
And holy shit, that note you hit was just insane.
Did I nail it?
When you did the Tyler Scream, that was just crazy.
That is you know what? That is the world's toughest song to sing. People think it's Queen. That song is the hardest song I've ever sung.
Wow.
Well, he goes from such a different range in that song.
Yeah. You're all good. I'm always like, just let me hit the note. That's a tough one.
I'm going to put a reader question here, a viewer question up here. He's asked politely twice now. Please ask Paul about an inside joke from Randy. Are you currently composing the Marty's Gang theme song?
No, but I am drinking vodka with Crystal Light. Okay. That's my answer. Marty's Gang will get it.
So there you go, Rocky 1998.
See you at the next basketball game.
Thanks for the question, Rocky. I don't understand, but that's okay. I don't have
to. Inside joke.
Well, I'm glad we've had so much interaction tonight, even though half of them are talking about Transformers and the other half are John's relatives.
My family. Yeah, we've had Mike, we've got Jerry, my nephew Matt has been on. I think those are the only 3 I've seen so far.
It's a family.
All right, well, I am coming over for Thanksgiving, so we'll meet in person.
Excellent. T-Bone says he's loving the show. Keep going. Everybody's saying keep going.
We'll do another show, right?
Why don't we?
Sure.
I think you've got enough music that we can keep going. And I got some more albums that I got to buy so I can listen to them and ask you some questions about them.
Yeah, sure. Well, that sounds like a date.
Why don't we hook up with Paul again for a part 2 at some point in the future?
Sure.
Heck, maybe I can talk Mike Fraser into stopping by too.
That would be great. We can talk about the Poison record.
It was really cool when we had Mike Fraser on. We were double booked. We had Andy Kern and Mike Fraser on the same night, and there was a 10-minute slot where they both overlapped and they were just talking back and forth, and we were just sitting back with smiles on our faces. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, man, it's music history, right?
Yeah. And I'd love to ask you more about history too, because I went to school. I was a history major, and my dad brought me up on, if you remember, an old documentary series called The World at War, narrated by, oh God, was it Sir? Oh, it's completely.
I can hear the voice. I watched that.
Olivier. I think it was Olivier. I think, but yeah, like I'd love to talk to you about The World at War or what have you, or just
sure.
European architecture or whatever you want to nerd out about.
Right now, there's a whole bunch of people watching your show going, "No, please don't, please." He got the music.
There you go. He's telling us to stick to the music. Stick to the music.
Mike, what was Christmas like in the 40s? Well, we were listening to Bing Crosby then, kid.
Oh, man. I've had a great time tonight.
Me too, fellas. Me too.
Thank you so much for appearing. John, do you have any wrap-up questions that we can, hit a home run with
I don't, because we've been through so much. I've gotten through, I think, you answered Parr, so now I know who Parr is.
You know what? I'll ask a nerd question because I'm having so much fun with this. Just to throw some controversy out there. I personally loved the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and I'm just kind of wondering where you stood on the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Absolutely loved it, and
there you go.
because all the haters out there, look. We're lucky we actually grew this time that we grew up in filmmaking and the changing of history, in terms of what Lucasfilm has done, that's the point that people are going to always look back on. The movie industry was it was silent movies. It was this, the 40s up until the late 70s, and then these 3 guys came in: George Lucas, Spielberg, and Godfather guy,
Coppola,
Scorsese.
Thank you, Godfather guy. And it changed the way that movies were made, and we're lucky that we actually grew up in the era to see
big time
all of that happen.
Paul, I often say that we grew up in a golden age, and a lot of people forget, when you and I and John were younger fellas, there was a time where it looked like there was never going to be anything ever again for Star Wars,
Right.
it was over for a lot of years. So I'm very grateful that we finally got to see Harrison and everybody else again. I was absolutely thrilled to see those movies.
Yeah, and Disney Plus now has my money.
Yep, mine too, my friend. Mine too.
Yeah, mine too.
In fact, if you are into the animated series, The Bad Batch, the Star Wars animated series, The Bad Batch, is a new episode tonight, and I'm going to try to catch it after we're done here.
I just saw that was on last night, and I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to binge watch next.
There you go. There you go.
All right, gentlemen.
Paul, thank you so much for showing up tonight, and I'll get John to contact you. We'll hook up again.
All right, this has been wonderful.
Yeah.
And thanks for everyone watching out there and asking questions and geeking out on Star Wars and Star Trek with us.
And thanks for sharing all these fantastic stories. And as Doc McGee might say, get the fuck out of here.
I'm going to get the fuck out of here, gentlemen.
That was
Thanks,
my favorite.
All right, thanks a lot, Paul.
Take care,
Appreciate
buddy. Ciao.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Oh, John, how do you feel, buddy?
Exhausted.
Yeah, me too. That was the longest interview I think we've ever done.
That
The
was
longest
incredible.
longest single interview.
Yes. Yeah.
The Andy Curran show with Mike Fraser, that was 2. But
Yeah, I
holy
kind of had
moly.
to throw the notes out because we were jumping around. I just trying to remember what was on my head, but that was great.
you did good, John. Not bad for your first time.
First time. Yeah.
I had a blast. Mike says,
that was fun. Thank you very much for allowing that to happen.
oh, and my Aunt Linda, great guest. There you go. Oh, look at all these freaking comments here. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so John, what are you up to for the rest of your night?
I don't know if I'll go to
Aside
sleep.
from coming down from this incredible high.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to come down from this incredible height. Oh, it was Brent Jensen.
Brent, there you go.
I'm sorry, Brent. I have Brian, so sorry.
I'm sure Brent is okay with that.
Yeah.
Brent is another guy that we got to get on again sometime soon. Man, what a blast. What a blast. So I'll just quickly plug what we got going on in the schedule, and then we can talk about what you got going on in your website, tooloudmusic.com. Here is the schedule, folks. The updated schedule, just updated today because we booked a whole bunch more guests. Next week is just an ordinary list show. I say just an ordinary list show. They're never ordinary, but we're doing the best cover tunes, and all genres are open to this one. We got Harrison Kopp, Rob Daniels, the Meat Man, and Aaron. May 21, we got Sean Kelly from Coney Hatch and Lee Aaron with co-host Super Deeks. May 28th, we got Dave Lismy from the Four Horsemen with co-host T-Rev. The Four Fucking Horsemen with co-host T-Rev. June 4th, John will be back with us on June 4th. We're doing our Judas Priest lists, which will tie into what John's going to be talking about he's up to lately. That is going to be with Harrison Kopp and the one and only Jeff Steven, graphing all of our picks live in real time. Always a fun thing to have Jeff Steven on. June 11th, Kevin and Sarah will be on for a list show of Theme to Be Determined. June 12th, which is Saturday, 1 p.m., we're having Andy Curran come back for his 3rd appearance. June 18th, we have Robert Lawson, who just wrote a Cheap Trick book called, I can't remember the name. Robert Lawson, who wrote the Cheap Trick book, will be on the show with Super Deeks. And June 25th, Brian Hamilton from Stormforce will be back to talk about a brand new project that he's involved with. So that's the next 2 months worth of shows.
Wow, that's crazy.
And there will probably be others because, as you know, this all started as sort of like a social thing. We wanted to socialize and have something to do on a Friday night. And there's so many guests that I don't have enough time to socialize with my pals anymore. So I'm probably going to throw in some Saturday shows just to hang out with you and everybody else.
And this one, and this one, and this
and
one.
this one, and this one. But yeah, the Judas Priest show will tie into what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a Judas Priest series. I'm reviewing every album in this box set, 17 albums, and then I'm going to review the four studio albums that are not included.
Right.
So I'm about, on the site, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm about 10 albums in. On the site, I'm probably only like 5 or 6. And then I'm in the middle of a Queen series. I only have 5 more left to do on that one. I've already done 10, but of course the site's not up to that point yet. I've only got 4 more left to write in the Kiss review series.
Wow.
So that's kind of sad. I've been at that since June of last year. And by the time it's done, I think it's 72 posts on the review series. So
that's crazy.
Yes.
Crazy.
And then I'm already prepping up my next series for when the Kiss one's done. It'll be Cheap Trick.
Nice.
So, and then this week, I've got Will Hogue album ranking this week. I've got a tour book from an artist that I have never had on before. And then a Queen review and a Kiss review. So.
I just had a brain fart. I was going to ask you a question. Oh, speaking of Kiss, we never asked you, which Kiss member did you dress up as a kid?
I don't know if I ever really did the makeup. My brother, Jimmy, he and his friends, Mark, and I forget the other 2, they made their own costumes.
Cool. And
Jimmy was Ace. So I always wore the Ace costume when he wasn't wearing it. But I don't think I ever did the makeup. I probably bought I had a mask, but it would have been Ace if I would have done it. So.
Cool. I love that. Love it.
Yeah, it was a cool costume. Handmade. I mean, it was whatever they could find. They took blocks of wood and nailed them to their tennis shoes to make the tall
That's
shoes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah,
cool.
It was pretty cool.
Well, John, thank you so much for hooking us up with Paul tonight. Please and thank you. Get him on again, and I will see you on June 4th.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Well, you have a wonderful night. Everybody go to tooloudtooldmusic.com to check out all of that great stuff that he's been talking about. And as usual, I'm going to close on a music video. We'll do this one. We'll do Fairies Wear Boots. Everybody seems to like that one. This is our good buddy Eric Litwiller singing Fairies Wear Boots back in 1992. So that's what we'll go out on. John, thanks a lot. Paul, thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you next week when we talk about what did I say? The top cover tunes. The top cover tunes. Going to be a great show.
All right. Good night.
Good night.